Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Afterglow. The Afterglow is the after party to the Start is Near podcast. And if you haven't heard of the concept of the after party, you will very shortly. And with that, I pass the feather to Sienna. And we'd love to continue hearing from you, Sienna, because you've got this amazing vision. And also, please feel free to call on folks as you go who you'd like to fill in or speak about different topics. And it looks like we've lost Mike for the moment, who's been doing an amazing job of hosting. Mark, let me know if you'd like to play that role, or if not, I'm happy to, or other volunteers are also welcome to play the hosting role. And with that, Mark, go ahead, and then Sienna.
Yeah, I'll be back in a few hours. I have to get this thing under control, but I was really amazed by what happened. I would love to say, Sienna, and hear what you're going to say next, because I planted quite a few seeds there. So maybe I can watch the recording afterwards or come back tonight and check in with you. But keep up the good work, guys. Thank you for being so inviting and so inspiring and so passionate, because we are in an emergency. So keep it up, and I'll check in soon.
Thank you, Mark. We'll see you soon, brother. Take good care. And Sienna, over to you.
All right. I will jump right in. So James, I really appreciate everything you just said. And this is, I think you missed the earlier part of this call, but yeah, this is going to be, the curriculum, I don't even like using that word. I kind of want to recreate or create new words for all of this stuff. But yeah, it's going to be completely student. I mean, at the base, it's going to be student led, and that's kind of how I ran my troop. It was always decided upon by the kids and the whichever parent was helping co-host that specific event. And then I was just, the troop leader, just kind of, that was the placeholder, making sure everything worked. And so I think once we get the parents and the teachers and the administrators engaged in this, and they see here is a program that these kids are going to get excited about to get their SSL hours. And we were also, I think Marco and Jamin and I were mentioning, how do we appeal to the kids who maybe have to work instead of, they're working to put food on the table. Like I worked through high school. I actually worked 2 jobs in high school because I was paying rent at the time. So that is probably, I don't know how common it is, but if it was common for me, it's going to be common for other kids. So we can partner with local grocery stores and shops to basically give vouchers. And Mark and I had discussed why vouchers instead of just gift cards. And this way, it's literally, it's just for food or whatever. It's almost, I mean, I don't want to compare it to like food stamps, but it avoids those gift cards getting sold for something else. So that's a program I think, I mean, at least in my zip code, would be very, very, very easy to set up. And the kids would feel like super engaged because we're going to make it like a game, the things I used to do at the school. And we did karaoke nights, we did bingo, we did tons of movie nights, lots of fun field trips. And the more you can get these kids engaged in something that benefits them in the SSL hour department, which they all need. And it also looks really, really good on their applications. I mean, really, really good, because they're building something. They're entrepreneurs, and they're also humanitarian visionaries. And what looks better? What company would not want? What organization would not want a kid? And what college, would not want a kid who is, forward-thinking visionary. So that is just one of the sales pitches. I mean, I think this is going to be such an easy sell to Montgomery County. And once like Mark was saying, and like everybody was saying, we basically need to just have some kind of pilot program, see what works, see what doesn't. And we may as well start it, I hate to say it, in a zip code like mine, just because because of my connection here, and because a lot of this is just kind of like, I'm considering based on what I've already done in this county. I'm like, what's the easiest way to do this? What are the easiest what parents do I contact? I can navigate this very easily. And I recommend that everybody start thinking about, if they want to do it in their own community as well. I'm not trying to hog this. This is what I'd like to do eventually, is have just one basic format that, the high schoolers can use. And then the high schoolers eventually, once this is fully implemented, as I said, they could create a similar program for the middle schoolers and all the way down to, preschool. And they can all kind of interweave and do, because that's another thing that's big in scouting, is merging with younger troops, doing, events where one age group kind of mentors another age group. It's endless what we can do with it. Again, it becomes, let's start having the conversations as if this is already happening, and we just iron down the details. And, one thing, and I say this with full humility, I would consider this something, that if done right is like Nobel Peace Prize kind of, and again, full humility, but if we focus on it like that, because that is the potential, if we do this correctly, then, it's going to be full steam ahead. But I'm fully committed to this. I can see how to make this work within my school district. And then I think with all the parents and all the kids who are going to be, so excited about this, they will jump in and get engaged, and it will start growing exponentially almost on its own. That is what I see. So I am passing it to Melissa. I believe Melissa's next.
I love what you're saying, Sienna. That totally resonates with me, and I agree with that. And I wanted to mention in the sociocratic way of working, they say, is it good enough for now and safe enough to try? And I think we have to start it somewhere, right? And you, God bless you, you stepped forward and said you would hold the reins of this horse. Yeah. And then the rest of us, like you said, we can start this in Ireland. We can start it on Whidbey Island. We can all go to our communities and start similar things, similar programs, or whatever we want to call that project. So right on.
Yeah, I see this completely. Maybe these meetings by next week, we can just have, almost like a drafted format, because again, this does not have to be hard. The more we have these conversations, the more we condense down the information. Any parent, any kid could go into, any counselor or teacher in their school and say, hey, I would like to see this implemented in my school. And any teacher worth anything is going to be like, oh my gosh, this kid's taking some incentive here. Let me help them. And if they can't find anybody who can implement that in their school, then they can reach out to, one of us, and we're going to have an entire, I would say, faculty, I don't know, just a whole group of kind of volunteer parents. They don't all have to be parents, but yeah, I would ensure that this program is known to be of such a high level that, you almost have to have a top secret clearance to get in, but, you have to have nothing in your background that would be sketchy. Because that's how it is to be a volunteer in my county. You have to scan your driver's license anytime you enter a building. They're all like multiple, entry points, fully bulletproof, everything. So, there's no nonsense allowed in this zip code. It'll be just, I don't know, an easy, safe place to start this project. So if we could just start having the conversations about, and maybe we start small. I don't know. I have like 1,000 bullet points that I kind of want to go over and just keep condensing. And whoever's interested in, kind of like this beta, I'm just trying to identify kind of a beta version that we can approach the schools with, and it's probably going to be Jamin and I at a minimum, and whoever else is interested at this level. It's going to be, I would say, in April that we go and start presenting this to the school and getting it in front of an audience, and then by the summer, hopefully we'll have enough volunteers where they can kind of build this, and then it'll be implemented in the fall by whatever school wants to use it. I mean, to me, it's going to be a basic format, just like scouting. It's like, here's the book. This is what we recommend you do. But this isn't even a book. It's just going to be like an app. It could almost be like an app that you just, check things off. And all of a sudden, these kids are excited and engaged. And the other thing is we can start introducing them to kids from around the world, because as these conversations occur and as they're after parties, we can do these on X. Waleed knows the power of X. I mean, how on earth would Waleed and I have ever met each other, or any of us for that matter? Waleed lives in Switzerland. I mean, come on. And we're hosting a homeostasis space where people from all around the world are coming in. Think of the potential. Think of the simplicity of it.
I don't want to, when you're finished, I know you can't see
Yeah.
all the hands, so you have raised
I
hands,
am
Deanna
muting.
and Jamin.
So Danny is up next, and Danny, I saw your comment in the chat that you're lost on the topic. So I'd like to offer to kind of give a recap and fill in some of the blanks. Shall I do that now, or did you have more to say at the moment?
Thank you. Now would be great. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So, and we are recording and transcribing. So a few weeks ago, we hit on the topic, the idea of the after party. So, and we got very excited about one specific scenario, which I'll use as an example, but it's also an extremely important scenario. And that is Paul Beckwith, who is a YouTuber with a little over 30,000 people audience. And he regularly posts on global warming and possible solutions to global warming. And so, but his audience has no way to connect with each other, right? Other than, what I call passing notes under the door, submitting a comment under a YouTube video, and, people can comment on your comment, but it's extremely asynchronous and low bandwidth versus the richness of Zoom. So we hit upon the idea of reaching out to Paul Beckwith and saying, hey, Paul, let's do an after party to your next big video where your whole audience is invited. And let's say, 10% of his audience shows up. That would be over 3,000 people. That would probably require multiple Zoom rooms with up to 100 breakout rooms each. I call them Zoom spaces so that we don't have the ambiguity around a breakout room and a main room. A Zoom space is like this, and then you can have up to 100 breakout rooms per Zoom space. So we got all excited about that because we figured that would probably be the start of the great climate revolution, which has been waiting to start, which urgently needs to start. And we believe that the result of the great climate revolution would be that people would finally become aware at significant scale of the possibility of using marine cloud brightening to not only stop global warming, but actually cool the planet and thus save life on Earth. Not that cooling the planet is the only thing that we need to do to save life on Earth. It is simply the biggest thing and the most urgent thing. So we got all excited about that. Reached out to Paul Beckwith. Did not hear an answer until Sienna reached out and heard an answer from him this morning, a thumbs up, to which she responded and has requested a meeting. So that's now moving forward, thank God, and thanks Sienna. And in the meantime, last week, we said, wait a second, we're getting kind of tired of waiting for Paul Beckwith to answer. Why don't we start things? And Sienna had the brilliant flash of starting a similar process, but in high schools, starting in her county, Montgomery County in Maryland. So we started talking about that. And then we came up with an idea, which is sort of an intersection of those two ideas. And Danny, I'll fill in, and Danny and everyone, I'll fill in some blanks on the high school idea momentarily. But the intersection between, I'll just say, the high school idea and the after party idea would be that, you know, someone higher up within the high school system, the school system in Montgomery County, like the superintendent of schools, could reach out to Paul Beckwith and invite him to come and give a big presentation, both to the high school students, but that would also be broadcast throughout the world, to high schools throughout the world and to people throughout the world. And Melissa says she will be back in a bot. I guess that means she'll be back in bot form. That'll be interesting to see. But anyway, so imagine then that Paul Beckwith shows up and we do a big presentation for multiple high schools, maybe in some big venue that could hold thousands of people in the DC area, called A Convenient Truth, as an answer to Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth. But 18 years later, we have a convenient truth. What's the convenient truth? The convenient truth is that we can actually cool the planet and save life on Earth. And so we then started expanding upon that idea and considering that we could have multiple different meetings, presentations coming from the high schools of Montgomery County and being broadcast all around the country and all around the world. And then for each of these presentations, having an after party where people could then, you know, over multiple breakout rooms, perhaps even multiple Zoom spaces, students from around the world can then participate in multiple conversations and activities related to the main topic, whether it's global warming or whether it's any one of various other topics. So we started exploring this, and then that idea morphed into, you know, what if, you know, we don't limit this just to Montgomery County? That's just the starting point, but all high schools are invited to participate in this program. And we get a whole network of conversations, of presentations, of projects, where any one high school can present, or any one group within any one high school can present whatever its topic is and its program, and high schools around the world can watch it live stream and then participate in the after party for that presentation. So start this whole network. And then that led to conversations about, well, how do we get this whole thing going? And where that netted out in the last couple of days was, let's, you know, start through Sienna's amazing connections and amazing leadership as a super mom in this county school district, that we, you know, Sienna and I and whoever else could make it, you know, we've talked about Marco, Melissa, whoever else can make it, we go to the high schools. You know, obviously Sienna would, you know, reach out and make it all official and get everyone's buy-in. And then we go classroom by classroom and give small presentations or skits, and also present a survey to the students and invite each and every one of them to join us, but here at the grassroots level. So this is, you know, in the process of being co-imagined and co-created right now. So why not invite the students to get involved very, very early, or like literally ASAP, so that they become co-creators along with us of this amazing program. And with that, I'd like to pass the feather to Sienna to help kind of fill in any of the blanks that I may have missed in that summary, and passing the feather to Sienna.
Sorry, every time it makes me go through multiple steps to unmute. Yeah, thank you, Jamin, and thank you everybody, because this is I see this as, you know, kind of a gathering of minds, and you know, I mentioned it the other day, it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall, and seeing what sticks, and then we can just keep condensing. But to me, the more we simplify this process, and keep it untethered, unrooted in any specific, I mean, we need to make the topics broad. It's basically what are the interest levels that bring these kids together in a passionate way where they want to kind of, get involved in how to, create change if change needs to occur. And, we can't be dictating anything. I don't want to propose any specific curriculum per se. It's more, this is how you become engaged with the thought leaders. We can set up programs where, field trips occur, where, we have basically chaperones always. But I mean, to me, I would steal a lot of the really great ideas of scouting, but implement them more from the standpoint of, listen, your future is like a few years away. Do you like the way it looks or no? What would you change? Here are the issues. We could basically point out, so 10 of the top issues facing humanity and Mother Gaia right now, and say, listen, if you go into Google, these are the top big issues. So we're going to do basically a game today, and we're going to break you out into, out of these top 10 issues. Everybody picks their top 3. Then when they come into the auditorium, we can basically split them out. This is what I apologize for repeating myself, but I do think it would be really fun, because these are huge auditoriums. It's like going to the Kennedy Center. There'll be 2,000 kids in there, and whatever parent volunteers and teachers and administrators are interested in this. And we could split them into different categories. I mean, here I have, this is basically humanity. It also stands for high school. This to me is kind of universal truth logic, but it also stands for like the university level. We start out with high school, move to university. That's when you start going into more of the deep, complex geopolitical issues, which, I mean, we can do it at all levels, but, and then once it goes global, I mean, this is where I kind of see the university and high school kids mentoring the younger kids, and then, just all age groups could be included. But yeah, once it goes life kind, it's just like, we are on the verge of, food insecurity worldwide. We're on the verge of World War III. Tech, we're going to have robots in our homes. I mean, very soon. Think of that. Just Google Optimus. It's going to be like the Tesla for home use very soon, in the next matter of years, a few years. Think about all the advances in science, and then think about spirituality and the fact that as people move away from a sense of connection with God's source, the implications of that, and how can we kind of bring that back in a way that is non-offensive, it's non-pushy, we're not selling anything, it's just, we are basically talking about common sense ideas, that have maybe been overlooked. And the primary reason for why, we live in such a polarizing time when we don't need to, that we have every single thing we need right now if the right people are having the right conversations. We have the resources, we have the land, we have the right, minds who can figure out solutions to all these crazy problems that seem unsolvable. That it's like, I don't buy that. But if we have an entire generation of kids kind of going into the world, basically saying, oh, well, it's too hard to change anything. I'll just try to do the best with the systems that are already in place. Then we've already lost the bubble. So yeah, my recommendation is to do whatever we can right now, and start at high school, go to university, go to middle school, go to primary, go all the way down to pre-K. But get kids engaged, get them off of the Kool-Aid track, because right now it's just it's terrifying to me. And with AI and social media, just kind of taking over everything. I mean, everything's about to change. And if you guys aren't super familiar with what's happening in AI, I'd get caught up in a hurry because I've been on calls now for 4 months, getting the very, very specific details on what to be concerned with in terms of AI. And there's so much that people aren't considering, and it could be a blessing. It could be the worst curse that's ever faced humanity. So, and then there's a lot of gray area in between. So a crazy thing, I think it was Terminator, it's either 1 or 2. The kid comes from the future and basically is trying to tell the mom, about this impending, robot apocalypse. And guess what year it was? 2024. He said, and it's crazy, but that's real. The robotic apocalypse that was predicted in Terminator is supposed to happen in 2024. And guess what's getting introduced this year? The Optimus robot. So I'm not saying that's where it's going, but the sooner we have the people who are inheriting this planet really paying attention to the implications of all these things, especially the implications of being tethered to the archaic past and the corrupt ways that it's like this good old boy network, with lots of handshaking and wink winks. I used to work in that world. I worked in that world for a very long time, so I'm very aware of how it operates. And that's one of the main reasons I'm super passionate about this. Because I know how backdoor deals are made and why the system is just eternally broken. So we got to get these kids engaged. We just do. For everybody, for the future of humanity, for the future of the planet. All of it. With that, my brain is fried for a few moments. Waleed, I'm so glad you're still here. So you feel like your brother from another mother in Switzerland.
Beautiful.
Trying to meet you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, Wally. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sienna, for all that. It's beautiful to be here. I'm very happy to be here still. I really love the conversation and where that's going. And as I said, I have a lot of things. I'm not sure what I should talk about and what not. At the beginning, I heard that we need more cultures. I am at least 2 cultures alone here. So Middle East and Europe. I think that adds a little bit to the equation. My background in education after I left home basically was majoring in international hotel and events management. So events management is basically my bachelor degree and what I studied here in Switzerland. And what we are talking about is more or less an event of some kind. And if we want to scale it, or as I heard someone said before, that is unscalable, we have to work with the efforts that we have right now. Then like any restaurant chain or like any hotel chain, they never started all chains together. I think it's best to perfect it in one place. And as I see, that is where Sienna is, perfect it in one place and then make an SOP or a standard operation procedure like any hotel or restaurant chain kind of have, to have or multiply or scale that globally then after that. But I have to first be kind of focused effort on one place, and then from there, once that works and proves that it works for the people and for the kids and for the parents and for the school system, and so there are a lot of layers to go through to be able to give kids or to enter the class and give them whatever idea or advice that we have for them from the future. And it all goes back to how our brain works and how to break out of survival mode and how to break out of fear. And as one of the speakers said, so sorry, it's not out of disrespect, I don't see the names on the screen, so I will get familiar with the names very soon. But that it was about economic adjustment, and it was about what else did we write? So there's so many things that we went in, but it was about breaking from survival mode and learning how the brain works, because that's not one of the things that we learned. It's something that you kind of learn along the years. and the earlier the better, because they are still in that kind of creative mode, as I mentioned before. So it usually is around 7 years old is the best time. Before that, and around 7 years old, because that's where the kind of the subconscious program sets in. And these are all topics that I'm like daily talking about and daily teaching people, including my kids and my clients and everyone I work with basically our subconscious level, our self-talk, the power of words into our actions, and so on. So yeah, it all goes into perfect kind of flow into bringing kids to be conscious or stay conscious as they usually are from nature, and not to get into a program that is not working for their benefit, because as also mentioned before, that the education system and the workforce and everything was built on a system that might not exist in the soon future. So we're building them to have jobs that these jobs might not exist once they graduate, and that is even like a lot worse than when we graduated, because at least the jobs were there. So we have to kind of bring them into their passions and into the new things like technology as well, and how can they bridge their passion by making their own money, so they can break out of kind of the financial burden that we have once we graduate and we have student loans, and then we're already into the debt system all lifelong, and then it's very hard to come out from there. So I think it goes full circle into following their passion and getting paid or generating some kind of an income through that system or through what we are doing here, that it's self-sustainable as well, so that it's not just based on donations that just the rich parents have to pay it, but that there is some kind of an economic system that runs on its own by the creative minds of the children themselves and by the ideas they have, and how can they earn money doing that. And then it kind of gets into one pot where it serves the program itself, and then it's self-sufficient. I hope that was bringing my ideas kind of together and from the notes that I took. So thank you all for that.
Thank you, Waleed, and thank you so much for being here. These meetings go for quite a long time, and so we'll be hearing lots of great perspectives. And James, you had your hand up. Did you want to go, James?
Yeah, cheers, Chairman. Yeah, I mean, obviously I'd missed the first half of most of this conversation, so but I did, I was kind of up to speed with the conversations we had during the week there. But yeah, you see, I don't have a problem with anything now that was said, but yet I would like, as Waleed was saying, he wrote a list of what some people were saying of potential benefits that this can bring about down the line, and there are different, as Sienna was saying there earlier, which this is my main point that I'm trying to get across, is like, and then hoping and not coming across as being negative, because I don't want to be. I think it's a great idea, again, as I'm saying, but I think we're missing out. Like what I'm saying is, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves again, in the sense that, like what you said earlier, Sienna, about you don't want there to be a curriculum, and that's one of the main points I'm trying to make, that we can't have any see, my main point that I'm trying to make is getting past the actual school faculty themselves at the start, to actually be able to get in front of the audience of the pupils. And in order to do that, you have to be able to present this, or whatever this plan that we have, like, or this, idea that we have, has to be presented to the faculty first before we get the permissions to go in front of the students. So, like, if we have anything listed out, as in any kind of like curriculum listed out, or any subjects matter that we may be talking about, anything listed at all that then it's something that we're bringing to the table. What I'm saying is, in order to get past them, it just has to be a program for the pupils, and they're going to be the ones that will dictate the curriculum. Because with a simple survey, when you get to talk in front of the students, and I think as well, for efficiency's sake, it shouldn't be talked to them class by class at all. It should be get the whole lot of them into the main hall in the school, and have a chat to them all in one go, and have a simple survey for them to write out from 1 to 10 their top fears or worries concerning their further futures. And out of that list, you get a top 10 list of all the main worries that they have for their futures. And I know that the big ones will come into it as well as the smaller ones, you know what I'm saying? But they're all connected to the one major one, which is global warming. A lot of the rest is connected to that as well. my point is that we're not bringing the curriculum. The students will be presenting the curriculum. They'll be presenting the subjects they want to talk about. And all we have to do then is, with the offer of the program, is to offer to bring these, like, in order to give them a sense of, you know, to help them relax about their, or take the worries off of their future and everything else. We say, whatever their top 10 concerns are, we bring the likes of professionals like Paul Beckwith to give a talk and give the hard truth about what the situation is with the global warming. And then, you know, or whether there's whatever the subject is, we bring the person to give a talk, or whether they could do it that way or by they can join. See, my idea, what I was thinking, the whole idea was behind this was that once you introduce the small pilot program in one and set the framework for it. So, like, what I'm saying is, we're thinking too far ahead as what all of this thinking, what it can lead to. Let's not worry about what it can lead to. Let's get the actual small model refined and perfect that we can introduce, and that it would simply it would simply grow itself. Like, you know what I mean? It's a fractal. You know what I mean? We just put it in, implement it. The students, then what we're offering is the after party is the main thing that's coming into this, Jamin, right? So what we're offering is basically, like, it should be a no-sum game for everybody. For the faculty, it's a great idea and it's bringing a lot of help to students. For the students, they're getting benefit and they're learning and they're getting peace of mind out of it and feel some form of you know, agency as well. They're getting they're getting the truth of what the situation is, and they're getting involved in what can we do about it. That's my point. You bring the experts to them to hear that the idea then is to offer them the after party and the platform to have the meetings, their own group meetings. They can also be then encouraged to expand out to other schools or high schools themselves, reach out to the other high schools for them to get involved in the same program. We could go to those high schools if they have suggestions, whichever, and give the talk. The point is, the main thing is getting past the faculty in the first place. So you have to refine what it is we're presenting, and cannot be any curriculum on our behalf. We're not offering anything to talk about. We're not going in there dictating anything. We're going in there, we're just offering a program that will bring relief, help, and peace of mind, and maybe, you know, some assistance to the students, all based on what their concerns are and all based on what they want to talk about. Like, that's the easiest way to put it past the curriculum, get it past the board anyway, so to speak, in order to get in front of them. That's the way I see it anyway. And I think it should be refined by literally talk to not one class at a time. That takes too much time. Talk to one high school at a time. That's the way I see it. Get the plan refined and have it so that you get this model sorted in the one school where Sienna is suggesting. And if it takes off, then you have the model. You just take the model to the next high school, give the same talk, implement the same thing, and then get that high school in connection with the other classes that are involved, the other conversations that are going on in relation to the other topics, and all of them connected. That's what we're trying to do. The after party is giving them a platform to do that. That was my idea. Like, that's what I thought was the idea behind what we were trying to do all along anyway. But I went on too long now. I hope I'm not coming across as negative. No, I'm just very tired and like been working all day. I have a small bit on the hungry side as well. So I hope I'm not coming across negative, but I'm trying to block it all out in too fast probably. But my main concern anyway is that we don't get ahead of ourselves, that we refine the model for what it is and what it's offering, yes, but that we're not bringing anything to the table to the students other than a model and a platform for their benefit at the end of the day, which it is, but it's a no-sum game because it all kind of revolves and it comes into the one thing. The conversations will take off, the conversations will be getting connected, and they will be talking about the right things, you know what I mean? The most important things. I'll leave it at that, passing the feather. Sorry if I was sounded a bit off.
No, you're fine, James. All right, at the moment, only one person has their hand up. That's Jamin, so I'll take it. You know, I'm kind of torn between what you're saying about let the students come up with the topics, right? And, you know, based on their concerns, and seeding the whole thing with a great Paul Beckwith talk called A Convenient Truth. Now, if we were to seed it with that, we could say, look, one problem we all know is staring us in the face right now, which in a way is kind of the mother of all problems, which is global warming, exponential global warming, because that leads to crop failures, hunger, drought, fires, resource wars, the destruction of whole ecosystems, the destruction of the biosphere, et cetera. So, students, teachers, administrators, parents, please all come and listen to Paul Beckwith present on a convenient truth, something positive, right? Taking a positive spin on that, because there is an extremely positive solution, perhaps the most positive solution on Earth right now, which is marine cloud brightening. And he presents that, and then there's a big after party afterwards. It's, of course, not just presented to the high school, but to the world, since it's live broadcast. And then we have a mega after party afterwards. But before Paul Beckwith even takes the microphone, we say, listen, this is an example. For many of us, it's the most important example, but it's nonetheless an example. And students, we invite you all to jump in and participate. Here's how: fill out the survey, come participate, fill out the survey about your own concerns, this, that, the other, et cetera. Part of the survey could be, reactions, questions, concerns about Paul's presentation, a convenient truth. So anyway, I'm just, we're collectively working with this big lump of clay right now. So let's just keep working it and keep open minds. I'm very open to what you're suggesting, James. And I see you got your hand up, so go for it, James.
Well, the way I see it is we definitely need to work this bit of clay, and we need this one out, because what I'm saying, the essence of what I'm trying to say, Jamin, is if you go to the college and you say you want to start off this program, and we have a great program that we want to start off, that's a great benefit. It's a no-sum game for everyone. And what I'm saying is we have a great program. But if you go and start off in the college by introducing yourself and saying, we want to bring Paul Beckwith in and talk about the truth about the convenient truth about global warming, and that there's a way of cooling the planet. What I'm saying is this conversation is so familiar to us, you're forgetting that these people, majority of these people, that's a very controversial conversation in itself. And there are a lot of high school, let's go back to the brass tacks. Guy McPherson lost his job as a professor teaching because they didn't want his students to know about the truth of what's going on. You won't get in the door if you talk about global warming in any of these institutions if you say you're going in to talk about global warming or SRM. You know what I mean? Either way, the point is you won't get past the door, and you won't get into the front of the students in the first place. What I'm saying is, why the need to suggest anything to talk about, any form of a subject to talk about? Why the need for that? All we have to do is go, and this is a program for the students to get involved in conversation about the things that most concern them in the world today, and about what they're concerned about for their futures. If global warming and war and hunger don't come into those concerns for their futures, the global concerns for their futures, I don't know what would come into the conversation. But the point is they're choosing the subjects to talk about. What you have to convince the institution of is that you're starting a program, and for the students to talk about, because there's studies out there, as I said, you use these studies to prove, the recent studies, that majority of 90% of young students have no hope for themselves for the future, because they think we've made a mess of so much things, and they believe the climate change is global warming is so bad anyway, they have no futures. They think there's nothing they can do about it. They're throwing their hands up in the air. That's what these institutions and colleges are saying all over. There's studies been done on it. You use that to say that in order to combat this sense of hopelessness that's going on with the youth at the moment, this is a program for the youth to give them some form of peace of mind, actually letting them know that we're treating them like adults by having them have the people, whatever their concerns are, we get the expert to talk to them and let them know what the truth of that concern is, and if there isn't any sense of age, or if there isn't anything we can do about that, or if there isn't any help we can find for them in whatever it is their concern is. Do you know what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is, you'll get past the board because they'll say, "Oh, right, this is," and they're going to take a part now. they're going to be picking the curriculum, in other words. So what you're doing then is what we're offering then is a platform where the students then, we go and talk to the students and we tell them that this is what we're offering as a platform. We're offering the space, the Zoom spaces for them to log in as groups and have their meetings on these particular subjects that they will then decide that they will themselves decide are the conversations they want to get involved in the groups, set up their own groups and talk about one. And all we wanted to offer them is for them to give us answer a quick survey, list from 1 to 10, starting at 1 there being their worst fear for the future, and down the line to 10. And out of that top 10, you have all the main subjects, as what I'm saying. They're picking that way, they're picking the curriculum, and then you bring the experts in front for each of those topics. All we're doing then is introducing the idea. They'll be doing most of the involvement themselves anyway, and they'll end up doing the reach out as well to the other universities and colleges as well, because it will take off. But it'll take off because it'll be a no-sum game. They will be doing something that they find some peace of mind in. They're learning the truth, and they find that there's agency there, and they can maybe get involved in staff groups and do something about these things. They will be getting points as Sienna was saying. They will be getting maybe assistance if they need it through the voucher system and everything else. It's another program for the college or the high school to have under their belt as something that started and initiated there, even we say, and getting it off the ground and birthing it all like, co-creating it. And it's also starting off the collective intelligence conversations in groups of young people, young minds, because let's face it, they're the ones inheriting the world, and we're the ones who created the mess. So we shouldn't go in there listing any subjects they should talk about. We should go in there with open minds, open hearts, and open ears, and let them tell us what are their concerns, list them out. We'll bring the experts in front of them. We'll tell them the cold hard truth, and then they can get involved in what they can actually do about it, or how they can have agency as groups and what have you. That's what we are presenting, and we're presenting a platform for them and a space for them to do the talking. If you make it that simple you get in the door and in front of the students. The conversations, you don't have to list any of them. You don't have to be afraid nobody will talk about global warming. It'll be up there in the top 3. Guaranteed. What are their main concerns for their futures? Global concerns for the futures. Not individual personal concerns now. They come into it down along the line, but top 10, like. You know what I mean? You can have your personal ones come in down along the line. What's the top 10 for the global concern for the future? You know what I mean? You'll have the war will be probably top of mind at the moment, anyway, as I said. And global warming will probably be a hot second, and hunger and what have you. And then they'll get down to their own personal issues. My college fees, I don't know if I'll have a job or what. All of these things will come on down along the line. But that's where you're getting them to pick the curriculum, to pick the conversations. The only thing the college has to, or the high school has to agree to, is not to censor what they want to talk about. Because if this is a true program for the students to give them a sense of peace of mind and a sense of agency, then they can't prevent them from speaking about something that concerns them. Because if it concerns them, they have to talk about it in order to be able to deal with it. So therefore, they're the ones who are picking the controversial subjects. They're the ones that will be wanting to talk about them. And the college or us will not be suggesting them or being able to hinder them from having those conversations. We'll just provide them with the experts to tell them the truth of it. And then start off getting groups going together and connected. A fine model, refine the model, have no no negativity, no curriculum, no plan. We're not bringing any ideas. This is not something we're trying to put into any of their minds. This is something that they will actually be involved in running for themselves. We're just giving them the platform to do it. That's what I would thought we were initially doing. I think that's the simplest. Keep it simple, as they always say. And I think that's the best way to do it, and the best way to get in the door in front of the students in the first place. And if you can refine it to something like that, letting the students basically run it in a sense, you're on a win. I'll pass the federal lever at that.
Beautiful, James. Thank you. All right. One person has their hand up. That's Jamin. So I'll take it, and feel free to raise your hands, everybody. So James, you've convinced me. And so here's where I'm now left in terms of a couple different options for getting, Paul Beckwith to speak and then do the after party. One option is that we forge ahead with the Paul Beckwith after party as a parallel track to everything we're doing with the high schools. So let's say a week from today, we do Paul Beckwith, a big Paul Beckwith, video release and after party and all that, and it's all recorded and all that. And in parallel with that, as we reach out to the high school, the high schools, plural, we might say, we've been pioneering this after party concept. If you're interested, here's this Paul Beckwith presentation, an after party that's coming up in a few days or whatever. And we would like to, the program that we're offering to all the schools is that based on everything that James said, what are your concerns? What are your biggest fears? I wouldn't just limit it to biggest fears, worst fears for humanity and for the planet, but what do you think are the greatest opportunities for humanity and the planet? So you can be looking at it a negative or a positive, etc. Then use Paul Beckwith as an example, but don't try to force it down their throats or tell them, hey, this is what we think you should be concerned about. You're smart enough to know what to be concerned about yourself, so we're going to let you, take the lead on that, students. Another way to approach it would be to do exactly as you've suggested, James. Let everyone surface their concerns, and then all of those who surface the concern of global warming, we can introduce Paul Beckwith to them. Let the students talk with Paul Beckwith, right? Let Paul Beckwith hear straight from the students what their concerns are, and then let the students hear from Paul Beckwith, and then amongst them, they can organize a Paul Beckwith talk with after party, through the high school. So maybe Paul Beckwith comes and addresses 2,000 students and parents and teachers, etc. And then there's a big after party. So anyway, James, I saw your hand up a moment ago. So if you have more to share, please take it away, James.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from, but again, no, like what I'm saying is I get your sense of your sense of worry that Paul Beckwith mightn't come into like if we left the choice up to them, so to speak. But bringing Paul Beckwith or even bringing him as a video as an example of what you see, these are young minds, and you don't have to give them examples of what their fears are. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's patronizing is what I'm saying. And also then it is also letting the actual, faculty, the people you're trying to get past, it's like giving them an idea that you're going to be talking about these subjects, which is controversial, will come up in their head straight away, and they'll shut the idea down before they even know what it's about. Why I'm saying it should be a no-sum game is because it is a no-sum game. If you present it as a program for the students, beneficial to the students, which it is, and if they're doing a survey on their top 10 global concerns, the biggies will come up. And that's what I'm saying is where we then come in by saying, well, we have experts that we can reach out to, that we can have come and give can do a talk on this platform, on the Zoom here, on our Zoom spaces. We can set up the rooms, you know what I mean? Or whatever, that they can have a talk, or we can get Paul Beckwith to do a Zoom talk to the whole college inside the college, right? But the point is we get them then to write to Paul Beckwith, to ask him to give a talk on it. You know what I'm saying? Or we could co-write with them to ask Paul Beckwith to give a talk to the students on the cold hard truth. You know what I'm saying? But that's a no-sum game then, because we don't even have to convince Paul to come. If Paul Beckwith gets an invitation from a college, high school, you know what I mean, to come and talk to how cold hard truth about global warming, then he's going to be there, like on Zoom. You know what I'm saying? It's a no-sum game. That's the way I'm thinking it. You keep it simple. That's the way I keep thinking it anyway. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't think we have to give them examples of their fears or bring any suggestions for any conversations that will take place. Those will all come up automatically once you let it. This is all about the student, and that's what has to be utmost about in primary in the front. It's all about the student, and that's what it is. It's all about the student. It's all about their concerns and their concerns for the future. Quite simple. That's what it is in essence. and do what their concerns are do what we're concerned about as well. And we're giving them a platform to co-create, talk, meet the experts and get the call out through. Sorry, with the child over for the weekend as well there, Scarlett, so she's waiting at the door for a pizza. You see, go on anyway, I'll pass the feather.
Okay, thank you, James. Good stuff. Jamin has.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Jamin has his hand up, followed by Franca. So James, I think you and I are basically on the same page. I think you might have misunderstood a little what I was saying about offering up Paul Beckwith as an example of an after party, right? We say, hey, we've been pioneering this after party concept. If you want to experience it as an example, participate in it, whatever, here it is. It happens to be about global warming, and it happens to be a Canadian scientist named Paul Beckwith who's got a significant following, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I see your thumbs up, James. So thanks for that. So let's play with these levers. High school after parties, Paul Beckwith. Let's kind of find the right configuration. Let's put the puzzle pieces together in the right way. James, you had talked about a no-sum game. I'd like to know a bit more what you mean by that. And I know you've got family there, Scarlett there, and pizza at the door and all that. So just whenever's good for you, James, feel free to jump in.
Basically, no-sum game, everybody wins. You know what I mean? Everybody gets what they want out of it. That's what I'm saying. Like what we're getting is the Madeline, we're being lit. We went to the wrong house. Oh, sure, Hmm? Oh, he didn't deserve it. Sorry.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, what I'm saying, it's basically everyone wins. The actual high school is implementing a new program that's beneficial to the students. They're getting points on the scores on the points, as well as maybe some assistance if they need it. They're getting a sense of they can get it depends. Some of them can bring up really issues that they mightn't have brought up, and they can get immediate help as well. We can get there's Peter Miller. He's now a he's a psychologist, and he's after especially going over to psychology on global warming, because he's after been just recently introduced to it in the last few years by Guy McPherson, so to speak. So, like, there's experts that we can bring to address their issues, is what I'm saying. And some of those experts are also the likes of Paul Beckwith and others that will be able to talk to them about the issues that they want to hear of, they want to talk about, and want to see what's the cold hard truth about, and what they can or can't do about, so to speak. So yeah, it's a no-sum game. You're getting we're offering the platform for all of these conversations to take place and to be, multi-connected, and bringing the expert. They're getting the call out. They're also getting involvement, and it's a win-win situation for everyone in it, basically.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Sounds like infinite game versus finite game kind of stuff. Anyway, thank you, James. And Franca has her hand up. Franca's sister, go for it.
James, just a question. Who are those parties that are winning?
I'm saying it's yeah, who's when I say winning, no, I mean it's everyone benefits out of it, is what I'm saying. There's no one winning. It's a beneficial program for the school. It's a beneficial program for the students, and what we've been trying to get up and get running all the time, which is a collective intelligence on connecting people on Zoom conversations, face-to-face conversations. This is what we're introducing it for as well, to get these conversations up and running. This is a program to do that, so everyone's getting something out of the whole thing, like, you know what I mean? Everyone's benefiting out of it, in other words. So that's what I'm saying.
I hear you, James. You're so adamant that I'm just going by your vibe. It's almost as if the motivation and the interest of those students is so vulnerable It sounds to me as if we introduce something to their awareness that wasn't there before. They're going to get all stroppy and say, this is not about us, we're refuting it or something. I'm making a caricature of what you said, James. So yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe I misunderstood it. I'm just going basically with the vibe. If I'd only ever learned what I'd set out to want to know about, I'd know way less. So I think, I don't know, maybe you've already said this, like almost like a catwalk of bits of information that you may not be aware of, kids, and then, or partners in learning. And we'll have like short presentations of things that some other people think might be important. You choose the ones that you already want to learn about or pursue, and perhaps some of these things that we're putting in front of you to your attention might be something else. And I don't even know how to say it, but I don't think students' interest is so vulnerable that they can't have a little bit of input that they hadn't already asked for. Just say.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Franco, but yeah, it's not the students that I'm talking about having the problem getting past, you see. And I have no doubt in their capabilities either, or their ability to know what is their main concerns globally. That's why I'm saying we don't need to go and give them examples of anything. In a sense, like, if you if anyone sat here now and made a list of the top 10 global concerns, what's going to be on it, like? You know what I mean? If you made a list there of your top 10 global concerns, like, what's going to be on it? I'm just saying that the subjects will be picked by the students in a sense. So that's the curriculum being picked by the students. That way you don't have to convince the faculty that you're trying to pass anything off over the students, or any controversial subjects that they might not want you to talk about. If they thought you were bringing a subject like global warming to the students, you might not even get in front of the students in the first place. I'm saying it's a controversial subject. So what I'm saying is, rather than suggest any topics for the students to talk about, the program should be about the students and about addressing their concerns. And if they listed off the top 10 global concerns, you would have a list then of experts that can be brought, that you can then offer this the idea of the after party, so to speak, as Jeremy's talking about, where we bring the experts such as Paul Beckwith for global warming, that they can listen to and get involved in conversation and get the answers to the questions that they're probably saying that they're not getting, because a lot of students are saying, young people are saying that the adults are think they're stupid and they don't they're not telling us the truth, but the students are more clued in than most adults. That's the truth of it. So you know what I mean? They're going to bring up these subjects, and what we're offering is to be able to bring the actual experts to them via Zoom once they set up their groups, like, or what, you know what I mean? The organization of the actual thing is what we're talking about, of the program and implementing the program. They're basically going to be choosing the subjects in a sense. That way you're not having to convince the school faculty that you're trying to get, or that you have any, that you're bringing anything to the table, so to speak, in relation to topics of conversation. You know what I mean? Because some of them could be controversial, as I'm saying. So that's all I was saying, is in order to get past the faculty anyway. I'm just thinking it's best to have it. Yeah, let the students choose for themselves. I'll leave it at that.
Beautiful. Well, I'm convinced. One person has their hand up. It's Jamin. Seems like a recurring pattern. I'm going to invite Sienna in a moment. I just want to articulate some stuff first, kind of as a big question for you, Sienna. So here it is. So my question is basically going to be beyond bracket, and I'm going to put some stuff in the brackets. Beyond what I'm about to bracket, what else are you envisioning? Okay, Sienna, for the high schools. So here's the bracketed stuff. Whether we go classroom by classroom or auditorium by auditorium or Kennedy Center by Kennedy Center, we get to the students and we present to them the big idea. We say, this is what we've been working on, and we want to invite you all to participate. Students, teachers, administrators, parents, etc. Okay, great. So here's what it is. And exactly as James said, we started off with a survey. What are your concerns? Okay, great. Then for the concerns will cluster around global warming, saving the biosphere, right? Ending and preventing war, right? Addressing mental health, addressing all basic human needs, blah, 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 all the way down the line, right? Food security, you name it. So the ones who cluster around global warming, all of us, students, parents, administrators, teachers, would basically say, we'd facilitate meetings about global warming, and then we'd say, all right, let's, all of us, go after those experts like Paul Beckwith, invite them, do a big event where they're broadcasting, live streaming, blah, 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 and then do a big after party, right? For after, say, the Paul Beckwith one. Okay, that's all the bracket. And of course, likewise for global warming, for all these other topics that I just mentioned, nuclear war, you name it. Is there anything beyond that I just bracketed that you're envisioning? And by the way, within that bracket would include, say, field trips to, say, NASA and NOAA and other, organizations and places in the Washington, D.C. area where we reach out and find the experts and have kind of preliminary conversations so that the students and the parents and the teachers, et cetera, all kind of co-create what's going to be the next big bang presentation that will be live streamed, broadcast, and have a big after party for, that's streamed to the other high schools around the country, blah, blah, blah. So beyond that, is there anything you're envisioning, Sienna? I imagine there is. I just would like to know what it is, if now is a good moment. Passing the feather. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to figure out a fast way to do that eventually. Yes. So, I mean, not to keep going back to Scouts, but I'm saying that we're trying to completely reinvent everything at this point. But yeah, I see the field trips. I see connecting with not only the thought leaders in each specific category of interest, but the policymakers very specifically. And the more we can simplify that process, because how often do people just not engage because they think it's too difficult? So we're basically simplifying the process. I almost see it like an IKEA sheet. And that's why, I love drawing on a canvas, because eventually I'm just going to paint over each one of these ideas and make it into like an image where it's like, do this, then this will happen, do this will happen. And it's very, very similar to how the Scouts, operates. It's like a natural progression of, kind of how people evolve once they understand this. Oh, then they can understand this. You don't go directly from Cub Scout to Eagle Scout. It's all the stages in between. So, it's not so much curriculum, but it is, here's point A, where you have a desire to change something in the world. You have this specific calling. Point Z is basically, you have engaged, you have done, and that's where we fill in, kind of what's between point A and point Z. It's like, this is how you become engaged within your family, within your community, within your school. We're going to help you find the kids. And I think this is, because AI is becoming so advanced, it's going to be very simple to create almost like an algorithm where, all these topics, and we can put, the questionnaire that we send to them, James and Jamin. I mean, it can be so lengthy. I mean, we could have thousands of topics in there. It's basically, there can be a search, function where they're saying, I'm really interested in science. And then science will come up and, you know, thousands or hundreds of whatever categories within that, or they could just type in, you know, one specific thing. You know, I'm really interested in marine cloud brightening. I heard about it and now I'm really curious. So then every category within each topic, I don't know, I mean, this is for tech minds brighter than mine, but it's basically just a simple algorithm where and you know, my husband understands how to do this in his sleep. So I would go to him first because he has like brilliant coders in the Republic of Georgia, you know, like Eastern European Republic of Georgia, smartest guys in the world, and they can code this stuff literally in their sleep. So I would go there and basically say, how do we create these categories and then subcategories, and then kind of connect the kids who relate to specific, and there might be, they might have multiple different clubs that they would want to be a part of. And it's a way to introduce the kids. I mean, you're talking some of these schools have, I mean, my kid's school has 2,000 kids. Some of these schools have more than that. And they pass kids in the hallway that may have very similar interests that they do. And imagine how powerful that could be if it's beyond like the after school you know, chess club. It is, you know, here's all the really pressing issues facing humanity and the planet. And you can kind of craft that. You get to craft that. You get to, you know, what we're going to do is kind of be the bridge connecting you with the policymakers and the thought leaders and helping you you know, kind of just understand your potential as a human being, as a citizen of whatever country you live in, you know, because it's going to be different for everybody. But there needs to be a basic format for how the kids of the world can get engaged in kind of determining what their future is going to look like. So I would keep it as broad. I mean, just like James said, keep it as simple and broad as possible. Almost have like an idea or an IKEA laminated sheet, you know, that just has images on it. I would take out all the confusing elements and just, you know, keep it as bare boned as possible, but also ensure that any of the facilitators of this have background checked, and there's no, you know, there's no way that this can go in a different direction than what we're intending. So that's going to involve, yeah, a lot of people need to be involved in this. I'm not saying that I know every aspect, but I can very with full confidence say that I can get this program in front of Montgomery County school systems, just because of the connection that I have and the amount of work I have. I mean, I've donated or volunteered, I mean, thousands and thousands of hours to Montgomery County school system. And for that alone, they will grant me an audience. So if we have the right message, you know, which we will, I see it moving forward. And then it's, you know, it's just a matter of identifying what works, what doesn't, brainstorming, you know, leaving egos at the door, understanding that this is the highest mission towards the highest good, and nothing else matters, you know. So let's start there and just operate from a place of integrity and transparency and empathy, and the path will be aligned for us. It just will, you know. That is my experience in this personal journey of mine, and I'm sure that resonates for a lot of you. The higher the integrity that you put into something, the more likely that something will manifest. And yeah, I'm putting all the integrity I've got into this, and that's why I just, you know, it'll. I just don't. Oh, sorry, I got a little kid here.
Aiden fought Kevin again.
Oh no! Sorry, I gotta talk to my kid. Hi. Oh no, what happened?
All right, well, Sienna deals with that. I have my hand up, and feel free to raise your hand if you have anything you want to talk about. Or
I just
yeah, go ahead, James. Go ahead. Go ahead.
just make one comment because I can't find the raise hand thing. I'm doing this. I keep it's on the more button. Anyway, yeah, just like Sienna said there now, like the kids designing their future. In a nutshell, that's what we're talking. That's what we're bringing to them. We're addressing their concerns for the future and giving them a platform and an opportunity to design the future they want. That's basically it in a nutshell. Like, you know, that's it. Like, simply keeping it simple.
Beautiful. Thank you, James. Yeah, so what I see that's so in kind of to encapsulate Sienna's answer to my question, it goes beyond, you know, presentations and after parties, and it's kind of like, you know, think tanks, right? Groups of students who want to cluster around a certain topic, getting together, talking, getting support from parents and teachers, et cetera. And, you know, and then building, part of that support is being a bridge to the myriad experts and policymakers out there, so that they can converse with them and kind of co-create with them. You know, what do we want to do next? Do we want to do a presentation, right, to the rest of society on this topic, including, you know, one or more experts, policymakers, et cetera. So, and then a group within the DC area may connect with a group in the New York City area, and a group within the San Francisco area, and Atlanta, and Dallas, and Georgia, Eastern Europe, and, you know, Ukraine and Russia and China and Japan and blah, 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 blah. So that these groups then connect on a specific topic and then work together on maybe co-creating a presentation or a program or something, some form of action that they can take. Sienna, I don't know if you're back. If you are, feel free to take the microphone. And in the meantime, Jack also had his hand up, but passing the feather, whether to Sienna or a Jack. Okay, and I don't know if you're trying to say something, but okay, all right, okay, Jack, go for it.
Okay, can you hear me? Because I was having trouble. I'm having technical difficulties. I might have to leave.
No, we can hear you just fine. Go ahead, Jack.
All right. Well, a couple things, like when you're having, as far as who's controlling or who's suggesting whatever the platform or the ideas that you're talking about, I think to some extent, kids or young people are actually looking for some wisdom from the older folks. So I think we have to keep that in mind. And when we have a discussion, that we have a kind of an equal discussion, instead of saying it's all the kids, your ideas only. I think we have a discussion where they are equal, but not necessarily dominating the conversation. Because I do think that they do want some kind of wisdom from older folks as to what is going on. So something to think about along those lines. And the other thing was that and pardon the pronunciation, but what Waleed was talking about.
Waleed.
What, Waleed? Oh, okay, thank you.
Waleed, yes.
Something about the economics. I think that those with experience have to at least put down what their experiences are and what they feel are necessary things to take into consideration. And of course, you can always use that as an answer to a question. But I guess I'd like to make sure that alternative economic system is something that gets introduced into this, because we really need an economic system that is way different than the one that we have. And how we put that together, I think, is an extremely important thing. And there is a group in Sri Lanka called the Sarvodana.
Sarvodaya.
Yeah, it's not Daya though. It's kind of like Vandana is actually Vandana in in Indian. But anyways, but using your pronunciation makes it easier for people to understand. And at some point we can introduce that. But the or on a level that other people can understand what it is. But basically what it is that they've put together the alternative community system or a parallel system to the current system and have raised all these poverty-stricken cities. Oh, something like 15,000 communities in Sri Lanka are a part of this, and they work together. And they do it pretty much independent of the government. I mean, they're still legally part of Sri Lanka and under the laws, but they're doing it on their own. They're not, the government isn't telling them how to do it or what to do. And they have put together this, like I say, 15,000 communities that are operating on a very, very good level. So anyway, the example is there on how to do it. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is there are certain things that we have learned over the years that we really need to introduce. We don't have to dominate it. We don't have to push it. But I think we need to introduce some of these things and kind of take it from there. And yeah, I'm passing the feather.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jack. I think, there's an opportunity then for the groups in the American high schools to connect with groups in Sri Lanka and have this beautiful exchange. Hey, we heard you guys are doing some pretty cool stuff in terms of creating kind of a whole new economic system and everything, and you formed this network of 15,000 communities. Share with us, tell us, you're the experts now. But listen to this, given the power of Montgomery County and the high schools there, they could give the Sarvodaya student leaders a real platform to communicate and broadcast to the world through this growing, thing. We're basically co-creating a whole new vector of collective intelligence and broadcasting great ideas to the world, bringing student groups together in different geographies all around the world to co-create and then share with the rest of the world beyond the high schools. So these really just becomes an amazing set of vectors of student leadership, collaboration, co-creation, bridge building, diplomacy across countries, peoples, etc., while focused on creating real solutions. Looks like Sienna's back, so I'm gonna. Oh, Jack, sounds like you got something more to say. Go ahead, Jack.
No, I was just gonna say that you put it in a good frame. That would be a good way of doing that. And we do have. I don't know if did I talk to you about Richard Flyer? I think I might have, but whether or not I did, he's somebody who is pretty much kind of an expert at building communities, and he's been doing it for 40 years. But he has connections, and he spent time in Sarvodaya. So we do have concrete connections to them doing that. And I think, well, I'll see if I can find it in time to put it in the chat. Like I say, I'm having technical problems. But if we don't do it today, we can do it the next time. Because I think it's really a good thing for people to be looking at, because this is something that is an amazing, totally amazing effort that they put together there on how to do it, have a system that is not hierarchical, where everybody is participating because they want to the extent they want to, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I'll pass the feather.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jack. And Sienna, if you're back with us, please grab the feather.
Sorry, it always takes me so long. Hey, River, can you turn that down, please? Yeah, Jack, I really appreciate you being here. I don't think that we've ever really formally spoken. So honored to meet you. Yeah, so sorry, I'm a little distracted. Hey, River, I'm going to be on this call for a few minutes. Yeah, is to not reinvent any program that's already working along these lines. And there's so many programs that we can look to. So any recommendations that anybody has for kind of ideas that we can implement into this. And, if it comes to be that somebody, I mean, I just think that we would know about it if all of the things that we're trying to incorporate already existed in a program out there. I think that this is going to be ever evolving, primarily because the world is changing. It's such a rapid clip right now that I don't think anybody who's having these conversations might be, having them with all the considerations um, taken into consideration, if that makes sense. And, and that's all the different, very, very high level topics that, and it could be based on the most pressing content or issues of any given specific period in time as well. If we're going to mold it in any kind of direction, that would be the only thing that I would maybe kind of try to promote is, pick the topics that are really, it's like make or break kind of timing on them. I mean, like right now we are on the verge of World War III. There's just all this conflict that there's no compromise. There's no, conscious conversations happening between world leaders. It's all just, for show and for views and for outrage and to, spin up some narrative. It's all the same programming. It's the bread and circus theme that we've been seeing for, as long as there have been societies. So how do we change that? Jamin, this is where, my gosh, until I had this conversation with you, I was like, okay, maybe it's just going to take another 5 years. I don't know. But, when I was introduced to you and had the conversation, I was like, he gets it. And not only does he get it, he's so passionate. He's going to be like jumping up and down on the couch with passion and excitement. Yes. I'm like, those are the people we need. Because there's going to be a lot of naysaying. There's going to be a lot of, well, rah, 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 rah. Always. We're going to encounter all of that in this process. But the one thing that I will say that I'm very, very good at is navigating that kind of like the naysayers. I've just always been very good at that. I'm very rational, calm person. People tend to tell me their entire life story within 10 minutes of meeting me. And that's what you need to know about me across the board. That is the way that people typically feel when they meet me. So I pose no threat to anybody. And if that is the kind of tone, that I can infuse in this project, and that is the kind of tone that Jamin infuses in this project, and that is the kind of tone that Marco infuses in this project. And I see at a minimum the three of us up on the stage in the school auditorium doing this very cute Star Wars skit. And another good friend of mine who is just crazy busy right now, but she is literally a high school activist. She went to Harvard. She's brilliant. Her name is Annika. We're going to call her Anakin Skywalker. I'm going to be Princess Leia. Jamin's going to be Darth Vegan, and Marco, I love Mystic Marco. You up there is like the oracle of all things, but this is going to be fun and engaging. We're going to have like trivia and, fun contests. And, these kids are going to be so stoked. I mean, this is the kind of thing that I do. I plan events, and I plan events that have a specific tone where if the goal is to get a lot of money, we set the tone where the people want to open their wallets. I personally raised $700,000 for injured vets. And granted, I was working for a company, I was working for Northrop Grumman, but their plan was to raise $300,000, and they had already raised that basically through, because I started, it was like right before this event. And I thought, why on earth would we only raise $300,000 for injured vets in Washington, D.C., and we're Northrop Grumman? I'm like, this is absurd. So I slept at the office. I called every person in the book on the Hill, basically all the press secretaries, all the legislative assistants, everybody down the line, and said, listen, this is going to be the event of, for Washington, D.C. this year. Is at the Mandarin Oriental in Washington, D.C., which is a very, very high-end fancy place. And yeah, it was huge. I mean, we raised over $1 million at that event. Gordon England was there. If anybody, used to follow I mean, there were so many members of Congress and senators there, but the members of the military going up to Gordon England, he was the Secretary of Defense or Secretary of the Navy or something. I mean, he was a big wig, and I was, I was the one who got him on board. And then somebody donated a Ford Model T. This is how cool this event was, and we had it up on the stage. And my husband, or at the time was my boyfriend, Pete, got in a bidding war with Gordon England, the former, whatever and I'll pull up his title if anybody cares. But my boss, oh my gosh, because the CEO of the company was there, and the two bosses that existed between me and the CEO were also there, and they're just giving me this look like, get him to stop that. He can, Gordon England has to have this car. And yeah, so that raised, I think, 26,000 right there just for the car, and that had been donated. But anyway, I know how to, when it's a good cause. When it's a good cause, I become highly motivated. I couldn't sell anything that costs money, but I can sure as heck sell a good worthy cause. And I can't imagine a better one, because I got 3 kids who are about to go into a backwards, chaotic world. It's like, why? This is crazy. All this stuff is avoidable. The right people having the right conversations can find the solutions to any of it. So let's just do it. That's where I'm coming from, Jack. I have a feeling we're going to have some great conversations. But yeah, so this is my Jamin, this is my thing. And if you can't read it, it's HUG. And this is just the way I'm kind of organizing my thoughts. But this is basically humanity, high school. This is kind of the ideological approach. How do we get people to communicate over differences? It's the people who are right in our orbit. Once we go to university and more of a global kind of look, or well, I guess global's over here, but this is when Chizzy, Chizzy is basically at the root of all of this. And I don't know if you spell it ZZY or if it's, anyway, it doesn't matter. Chizzy is at the center of all this, because how can we solve all these problems? The only way we can do that is by having the right people at the table, having the right conversations. And the more we simplify that approach, which is, now that we're having these conversations, this is going to be the way I'm talking to any thought leader I try to bring in. I'll try to get a little bit more peppy, because I know I can be very serious and monotone, but yeah, it's all to me, it's all emotion at this point. And yeah, I'm so excited. I'm a little bit tired just because this is like very taxing on my brain. But yeah, I see such unbelievable momentum once we can agree on everything that we're doing. And Jamin and I are going to be having very direct conversations on this. Melissa, hopefully in the background all the time. And yeah, so I see hands. I just wanted to throw that out there. And let's get this thing started, people, because come on, why not?
Okay, beautiful. I'm all for getting it started, and I've got some specific questions and ideas that what we can talk about right here in this meeting. I'm going to first defer to Melissa, who also has her hand up. Go ahead, sweetheart, and then I'll speak after you.
I love hug, Sienna. That is so brilliant. You just take it to the next level, girl. I did want to remind us, if you look at creation mythology, that every so many thousands of years, civilization, the earth goes through upheaval. It is a natural part of the cycles of evolution and change. So I think what's really exciting is that we are consciously going through a time of change and evolution where we get with our will to make different choices. So it's not an accident, I believe, that everything's falling apart and it might look scary and all that, but it's an opportunity for us to evolve consciously. So I just wanted to throw that out there and love you. Love you all.
Awesome, sweetheart. So what I'd like to kind of suggest that we all co-create next is, and Sienna, it sounds like you've got a lot of this on your canvas, so I'll rely on you heavily on this. But what is the core message, not in necessarily skit form or exactly script form, how we would say it, but more kind of bulleted form, right? And so what I'm, the message both to the school administrators and staff, as well as to the students, and what I would offer as a starting point is kind of like acknowledge the elephant in the room. We're in the midst of the greatest polycrisis that humanity and in fact life on Earth has ever faced, right here, right now. Thank you, Jack. And we are coming to the table. We are offering a program called Hug, or whatever, whatever name. Let's not worry about that too much right now. I think it'll just emerge, but let's call it Hug for starters. We're coming to the table with Hug, and the idea is that all of the thousands and thousands of high school students in Montgomery County, each of those has their kind of top three that they're most concerned about and most frustrated about. So we're offering to group these students together in think tanks who can start first talking with each other, but with massive support from teachers, administrators, parents. We all share the same concerns. We just need to get together. We need to get the global warming folks, together, the food folks together, the vegan folks together, the anti-war folks together, the AI folks together, et cetera, right? And once these folks are brought together, again, with the entire SPAT community. SPAT is an acronym for students, parents, administrators, teachers. Get the SPAT communities together around each such topic. And within them, since this is Montgomery County, we've got bridges, inroads to the United Nations, National Science Foundation, NOAA, NASA, blah, 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 blah. Let's start, forging these connections, because when high school students reach out to these folks, with or without their parents, whatever, the experts will show up. Oh, for the high school students, okay, hey, Kelly, put that on my calendar. This is priority. Let's make this happen, right? It's anything for the kids kind of thing, right? And not just local experts within the DC area, but, all the Daniel Schmachtenbergers and Charles Eisensteins and all these, thought leaders that we want, Paul Beckwiths, that we want to bring together. And then those groups then will be off to the races. Now, properly connected and bridges built to all these institutions and individuals and experts and thought leaders that they need to talk with, now they can start talking. What will they do next? It's up to them. It's up to the students, it's up to those groups. And then, part of the effort is these high school groups in the Montgomery County area reaching out to other high schools and say, hey, join us. We're starting this model. We'd love, more participants from more high schools. And it's an opportunity to get SSL hours but most importantly to, address these mega problems within the poly crisis, because another elephant in the room is that whatever the governments of the world are doing, and the nonprofits, and the religions, the churches, et cetera, whatever they're all doing, guess what? It ain't enough. It's called a poly crisis for a reason, because it's a really, really, really big set of crises which are not solved yet. So we're now bringing the high school students and parents, teachers, the spat communities into it. So it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, when these different, tribes or groups, the humans and the dwarves and the hobbits and the gnomes and the elves and the wizards and the wizards gizzards, and they all come together and put their staffs together and say united, one for all for one. Well, this is the high school students and their whole spat communities that surround them, entering the fight, so to speak, the good fight. And with that, I pass the feather. Sienna's got her hand up, followed by Jack. Thank you.
Hi, sorry about that. Yeah, the other thing about getting these kids involved with politicians, the politicians are, I mean, these are their future voters. The sooner they can get these kids engaged in the issue, and then the kids' perspectives, which is going to be a new, fresh perspective, unbiased, tethered to the old system. It's like, man, that what I just took this. I mean, it's like I can't remember who said it out, that that all little kids are geniuses, and we robbed them of that. The educational system basically just starts telling them to get in line. Memorize this, fill out this form. Pay your taxes, be a good citizen. But what's lost in that is kind of this this concept of teaching the most critical thinking. That I think the base is what we can provide here. That's what scouting was supposed to provide, kids from all walk of life, basically some safe place where they could learn something that, they may not get at home. So let's expand upon that, but it's not just, learning a few things and learning how to, operate in your world as a leader, knowing how to start a fire and, live in the wilderness. It's how you can help, like, completely change the narrative. They can create their own narrative. They create the reality that they want, as long as they're aware that they have that power. And the sooner they realize that, the sooner, because kids just live under their parents and kind of follow. They want to have fun. They work really hard at school. They've got their sports. They've got their friends. If we make this, we have to make it fun. And Jamin will, there's no way it won't be fun if Jamin's at the head of it. Yeah, I mean, I see this being the first, the kickoff anyway. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, this is going to be like the most successful thing that's ever happened. But the very first one is going to give us such a good indication of where this could go. So Jamin, what I wanted to recommend is that I plan a parent meeting in my house, because I think I planned parent socials in my house every October for 15 years in a row. I don't know. It's just this is the house where everybody comes. So if I can get and who I will invite is all of the other high level parent volunteers, the ones I know are like the best people, and I know the best people in this county. So it'll be when you're here, Jamin, or we can have you on Zoom call, depending on how crazy your schedule is. But once I get these other moms in, you just wait. Because these women are firecrackers. And although they don't, I've been talking about this stuff for 5 years, and they all just scratch their head and say, Sienna, that's great. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's great. But, once we can simplify this message and go to them, they're going to be like, oh, I can get behind that. I can sell that. And once we create a workable format in Montgomery County and get these parents involved and get the politicians involved and get members of industry involved. Because it's just a no nonsense approach to how to make things better. You know, there's no bias, there's no corruption, there's no way to corrupt it, you know. That's what I see, because it's, as Marco has said, he's like, I just want the simplest, most natural approach to the best, you know, the best outcome. I don't want to slaughter your words, Marco, but something to that effect is what was in my mind. And yeah, I think it's right now. The time is now. Damon said that. The time is now. The time is now. I have lots and lots of things on here that I could bore you guys to tears with. I know that I am. Oh, once I get into this mode, I can be very boring. So you guys just tell me when I've given you too much word salad. But yeah, I see universal logic, universal health, universal truth, universal oneness as a species. You know, the message, we just keep simplifying it to kind of like the where there's no more denominators, you know, it's just, this is what it is. This is the basic, most truth that exists for all of us. So let's start here. And yeah, because if we don't make it as a species, if we don't allow our world to, as let's see, unify humanity and restore Mother Gaia, yeah, keep it at that level, you know, and then kind of fill in the blanks. Sorry, I got diarrhea of the mouth. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Sienna. Really good stuff. It's becoming more and more clear. So I say let's continue to clarify until we get it down to a 3-minute elevator pitch, when we can just boom articulate the whole thing in 3 minutes. So let's keep working on that. And with that in mind, Jack is up next, followed by Jamin. And just raise your hand if you want to talk. Love to hear from everyone. Go for it, Jack.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, talking about, you know, the kids being the influence. I couldn't, I'd have a hard time counting how many times I've heard people, you know, adult people say, well, the future is in the hands of the kids. You know, the kids are going to be the future of everything. And I'm just suggesting that you have a little piece of paper and a pencil or something like that you carry in your pocket wherever you go. And whenever you hear somebody say, well, the kids are our future, write down their names, especially people who might be influential, so we can keep in contact with them. And I mean, let the kids know that this is what it is, that there are so many adults who are saying that the kids are the future. So that's yeah, the one thing to think about. But the other thing, Jamin, is have you talked to Chief Phil about this? Because I'm thinking that what you're trying to do here, and his attempts at bringing, I mean, a lot of it's indigenous people, but he's trying to bring everybody together. I'm thinking that this would be something that he might have interest in and a lot of good ideas about. So that's just a thought. But I would at least let him know that this is something that's going on. I think he would like it.
It's on earlier, Jack, today.
Yeah, Chief Phil was here earlier because he's heading down to Palenque, where Marco, James, and I, and the three of us, Marco, James, and I, are all in this room right now. We were down at Palenque representing Kindred Spirits Ireland a year ago, and he asked us to write a letter to be read at the opening ceremony on Monday. So we're going to be working on that over the weekend. But actually, speaking of Indigenous, at last year's Palenque at the pyramids, our brother James Desmond, who's here right now, was literally staked. And what that means is he was given a stake. It was a beautiful painted stake given to him by Chief Phil in a public ceremony. And he and Kindred Spirits Ireland, all of us, were tasked with building a bridge to the rest of Europe. And I would also add building a bridge to much of the United States, you know, half of Americans are part Irish or whatever the number is. It's some huge number. And so anyway, I think James, between James and Chief Phil and other Indigenous leaders, we can do some really amazing stuff in that department. So to be continued, and we'll be continuously inviting Chief Phil to join us and work with us on this. That's a great idea, Jack.
I also want to suggest that we invite the Lummi tribe to join us.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
they're open to conversations. They're also peacemakers and working towards environmental justice and social justice.
I would go so far as to say that the indigenous nations are more open with their children anyway, right from the get-go. They involve them in all the conversations with the adults, like right from infants, so that they're aware of all of what's going on around them. Like, so, you know, unfortunately, we should take a lesson from that ourselves, like, you know what I mean? But the indigenous are great for that. So I think that their schools and classes would be a great way of getting them involved as well, because these are subjects that would be very much up their alley and that they would like someone to talk to and hear experts' opinions on it. And if they thought there was some agency getting involved as well. And again, it can go from the macro to the micro, you know what I mean?
Totally.
beautiful, beautiful. Now, Bill, back to the 3-minute condensed, elevator pitch. So what I'm envisioning is, we give the kickoff talk in the auditorium, like, James was talking about, rather than going classroom by classroom. Ask everyone to fill out the survey and make it easy and simple so they can just do it when they're right there in their seat. And then imagine that from the auditorium, imagine this happens on a Friday afternoon. Directly from the auditorium, we all go to the cafeteria where there are dozens and dozens of tables of different sizes. And then for each of the major topics that the students have articulated, there is a table with the appropriate number of seats so that each student can go to their number one topic table and be with kindred spirits, other students, whether it's just from their high school or several high schools. Those are details that we'll need to work out. But they immediately start meeting, and that we make sure that at each table, each topic table, there's at least one teacher and at least one parent, right? And that way we, and then of course there'll be administrators there, but there are definitely fewer administrators than there are teachers, and that there are parents, and the students outnumber everybody. And so now they start going, meeting at these tables, and then, that will evolve into Zoom meetings under a particular schedule. And scheduling is a major concern because, it's not like these students don't have anything to do and they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for someone to present something to them. So we need to be sensitive about time. And that's where the hours come in. Okay, look, you're basically being credited or compensated for your hours. And so that gives them huge incentives to show up. But one of the things I'm thinking, if we do this on a Friday, then it can spill over into the weekend, right? Where a lot of students have a lot of hours available. And you know how there is these like 24-hour hackathons. I'm sure your husband, Pete, is very, very familiar with those, and students as well. Well, this could become, the Save the World hackathon kind of thing that happens maybe, once a month or something like that. So it goes into weekend mode, and certain, super moms with big houses can offer up, hey, we've got the whole downstairs rec area and these various different rooms, and we can, and then it might even happen in multiple houses in a particular, area, part of the county. And then we can even have cross-pollination where a student maybe starts at one house on one topic and then cross-pollinates to another. So make it kind of like a party. I mean, a hackathon is a big party, right? And maybe once a month we even do an all-night party or so. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. That may be too much for high school students, maybe more appropriate for universities. But anyway, those are some thoughts. I'm going to pass the feather. James is up next, followed by Sienna. Take it away, James.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Yeah, they're great. That's a great idea, actually, breaking them up into groups in the actual auditorium there as part of it, because what you can do then, you see, is because, as I said, they working it out for everybody so that we can make this as smooth a process as possible as well. So if we break them up into individual groups according to the top 10 we said the top 10 subjects that they want to break down and talk about. If the group is too big, we can try and get, like, what we do is encourage them to break off into groups of 8 or 10, and then also get them to individually name their own individual group as a thinking pod, like, because afterwards then you could you could introduce systems where, the more each individual group or pod contributes, they kind of get a point system or get some kind of a reward along the line, a lot, making it interesting that way as well, like. So as Sienna was saying, in a kind of a gaming situation, they have their own little group, they got their own cluster, and they're determined to think up and come up with better ideas, and it's like almost competition with each other, with each other's groups, even though they're all groups working on the same. We said there was, 50 people came out and said they were worried about war. You break them up into so many groups of 8 or 10, whatever, and they have their own individual names. But when they arrive, then what we do then is we say, okay, so we got so many groups here that are on climate change, so many groups that are concerned about war, so many groups concerned about food, so many groups are concerned about, we say, college fees in the future, whatever the top 10 is, right? Next week, we'll say then what we're proposing is that we will have an expert in the field for the global warming, Paul Beckwith, online on the Zoom or a Zoom platform, and that each of these classroom groups shows up in their, and as a group, they show up as a group in on the Zoom call, and each group has their own little individual team that they've already had a week to think and talk about, discuss what are their concerns, what are the main questions they want to ask, what do they want to know, how, all of these things, and then that gives us a week. Then we just say for global warming, it gives us a week to get them to reach out. We ask them to make a joint, reach out to Paul Beckwith to invite him to give him a talk the following week, giving them our platform as a place to speak to them. Like we said, there's so many people interested in food or whatever. You have a week then to organise a Zoom meeting with Silas, we say, talking to a group of people on the food issue, and so on and so forth. We have a week to organise experts for each of the main topics of conversation that come up. It could be it mightn't be even 10 subjects by the end of it, the top 10. It could end up being the top 3 or 4 or 5, like, you know what I mean? Let's face it, if they're global issues, if we're refining it to global issues, and then down to personal issues, so from the macro to the micro, like. But yeah, I think it's a great idea, and it'll, incorporate kind of competition as well, and everything else, the gaming side of it. So yeah, all good. Passing the ball up.
Beautiful. Thanks, James. Sienna is up next. Love it. Love it. Love it.
All right. So I keep taking notes and oh my gosh, I'm so blind. Yeah, James, I love the point system. Yeah, so within, I'll keep bringing up scouts because they do have a lot of things that work. I'm sure you've seen the little vests with the different patches. And the other great thing that they had, was a point system based on things that they did, cookies they sold, all that kind of stuff. It's like the more effort they put into something, the more points they would get, and they would get, more badges they would get. And each one of the badges, I would always make sure it came with some fun, thing. And they would get huge packages actually from Girl Scouts based on, they could order. You remember, like, I don't know, it's like Random House or something. It's like once you purchase a certain number, you get to pick from all these like packages of prizes. I don't know. I don't know who still does that kind of stuff, but Girl Scouts did it, and the girls would get very excited. So, and we could even have, like top prizes be iPads and, motorized scooters and things like that. And those things we could work with, all the local companies to have them donated. We could work with the grocery stores to have food donated. The restaurants, we could have hours, or like vouchers, food vouchers for the kids who, have food insecurity at home. There's so many, oh my gosh, once I have this parent meeting, and Jamin, I could schedule this as early as next week if you just want to start it on a Zoom call. And because these moms are like, ooh, I mean, they are, I'm mild compared to these women. Most of them are, doctors and attorneys and real badasses. I mean, they're badasses. And they love me. They don't have any idea what it is I'm working on. But once they understand this, they're going to be all in, because they know how passionate I am, and they know how much I will put into something that I believe in. And I will get, oh my gosh, I would say, at least 20 badass women in Montgomery County School District to help with this. And they're going to be highly invested because they want the best for their kids, who are all in high school right now, and if we could recommend something that their kids can build from scratch, with assistance from us. And a lot of these women were my fellow Girl Scout, moms. So yeah, a lot of them already know how to work this kind of thing. So, yeah, that said, my brain does become a little bit fried, but yeah, I would highly, yeah, the Zoom call with thought leaders, James, I think, it's absolutely the way to do it. We get these, some kind of these micro groups, within each one of the big topics. We do the subtopics, and then, as it moves along, we get different thought leaders. I mean, we could have Zoom calls with them. We could do X spaces with them, with the after parties after. It's just, it's infinite, the things that we can do. And once we bring in the indigenous communities and make it super, super diverse, so that everyone feels safe, everyone feels like, they're represented in some way. Yeah, I think I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I had lots of other things that I've written down, but as far as the hackathons, um, yeah, so Ryan Fay had mentioned using, and he's come up with this entire concept to start using churches more as community centers. And the hackathons that you're talking about, Jamin, you said big homes. Yeah, I could see it happening at churches, after hours, schools, libraries, museums, planetariums, aquariums, zoos, NASA, Air and Space. I mean, these are all places I took my Girl Scouts. Federal Reserve, NIH. It's endless, the places that we can show these kids. We can get them tours of how things work, and get them engaged in, and just across the board, and all the things that actually matter. Because right now there's just so much distraction going on within all of humanity. And if we don't start kind of agreeing on just the basics and getting everybody on the same page, and just the basic categories like this, like, I feel like we're gonna lose a little bit of what it means to be human, as we just kind of get swept away into the world of AI and all things tech. And yeah. Anywho, I'm rambling. Jamin.
Thank you, thank you. Beautiful, Sienna. This is so exciting. Well, listen, I'm game to meet at pretty much any time that Melissa and I don't have something scheduled, but we can work that out. That's no problem. We'll work out. And so what's coming to mind is kind of like a fractal. So in Montgomery County, we have this network of groups centered around topics and subtopics with all this great support and everything. And I can't think of a better place to start than the greater Washington, D.C. area, and soon the other counties, of Virginia and Maryland and, D.C. itself, will all start, falling in. And then part of the fractal is the, expansion from there to all 50 states and all countries around the world, et cetera. And for those students who don't happen to be in some, dense metropolitan area, dense population wise metropolitan area where they can have all this great support and just go to their school and meet their groups right there. We will have, of course, the Zoomosphere. And this is where it really gets into the realm of full-blown Chizzy, with an unbounded network of groups and conversations going all the way down to very specific sub topics like marine cloud brightening, right? And especially doing this in the Zoomosphere, I mean, getting the whole world engaged, the students from all around the world, with 24 different time zones. There will be meetings happening all the time that people can plug into. And so if students, whenever they're in a Zoom meeting, they're getting their SSL hours, of course, we need a way to essentially audit that. Like, here's what we don't want. What we don't want is a student doing this. Right? You see, my camera's turned off. I'm off doing something else. My microphone's muted. And, some bot alerts me if somebody says my name so that I, put down my Nintendo or my homework or whatever else I'm doing. Oh, yeah, no, I'm here. No. You got to have camera on. You've got to be engaged. Yeah. Who spoke up there? James?
Me, I just saying, where could I get one of them bots?
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't want you to have that damn bot, James. I need you here. Screw that. No cheating, James. We need you here. But anyway.
Love that, James.
It'll be the tea making detector bot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whenever James goes to make a tea, he gets a zap in his genitals from something that we'll embed the next time we meet. But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, so Chizzy becomes the this is where Chizzy really comes to life. And so some of the big nodes that are appearing, just topical nodes. We've got topics, subtopics, an unbounded network of groups in the Zoomosphere and in person. The worldwide nature of this, the Chizzy nature of this, mega presentations, like when a Paul Beckwith comes to DC and makes some big A Convenient Truth presentation. That's going to be a big attractor. That's going to get media attention. And that's going to, wake up more high schools and, whoa, this is a high school thing? Well, how do I get plugged in? Right. And that's where the name of the thing, whether it's Hug or Chizzy or, ACT or whatever we come up with, we're going to brand it. And of course, some of our parents are marketing experts and PR experts, and they'll get us plugged in to the media. I mean, goodness. Washington, D.C. is one of 3 major national hubs for media, the other 2 being New York and L.A., right? So, but Washington, D.C., oh my goodness, media is just swarming around Washington, D.C. And so anyway, with that, I pass the feather. Sienna, go for it.
Yeah, so I have a lot of like big connections within the media. Actually, my mom, who eventually I will bring on these calls. She worked for USA Today for over 30 years. I actually just went to the USA Today reunion at the National Press Club a few weeks back. But she still knows everybody at USA Today. She's like super, super, super well respected. And my husband is part of a mountain biking crew. And at least 2 of them, I know one works for Reuters, and I can't remember where the other one works now. I think US News and World Report. So, we can start getting some high level press releases out there about this. And, the people will come to us. I mean, and I can guarantee it in this zip code. Once I get these parents involved and we get, the viral impact of this, just word of mouth is going to be fast, because right now, I have 3 teenagers at home. Well, one's about to become a teenager next week. So, but the fear is very profound right now within the and if the fears are big in a community like mine, imagine how they are in other areas. Because I mean, we should have nothing to be worried about right now. But you look at the future and it's just I can't even predict the world that my kids are going to be inheriting, because everything is changing so rapidly. And this presidential election, oh my gosh, there's just so much kind of hanging in the balance right now with these global conflicts, and just this constant divisional tactics. It's kind of like the bait and switch tactics to constantly keep us distracted from what matters. So yeah, I think let's get these kids back on focus. Let's go back 50 years in time when people were paying attention to things. Because at the rate we're going, nobody's going to know how to do anything. Nobody's going to care. They're just going to be staring at their phones. If you haven't seen the cartoon Wall-E, I guess it's a movie, an animated movie called Wall-E. I remember watching that with my 3 kids who are still at home, thinking that looks like the worst possible future imaginable. And here we are, like 10 years later. Wall-E is basically, humans destroyed Earth. They, they had this huge mega spaceship. So the ones who survived got to move onto the spaceship, and then they basically, there's nothing for them to do because robots control everything. So they're zipped around in these little motorized, airborne scooters, and they are constantly drinking and eating something or looking at a tablet. And they're all big and round. And this one this one little robot basically comes in and saves the day. Because it's like this sentient robot, and it's a little horrifying thinking how close it hits to home with what's happening right now. But yeah, something's got to change. Something's got to change in a hurry, or we're going to question why we didn't do something. And I say that as a mom who wants my kids, I want their lives when they have kids to be as good as, I mean, my kids had fantastic childhoods pre-COVID. Then COVID changed everything, and they adapted pretty well. But the other thing about this, what we are trying to do, all the kids in my county have Chromebooks. And the fact that they're all online all the time, all these surveys can just be sent directly to them. And, their engagement, I mean, it could, for the kids who don't have the luxury of being able to travel around, or, they have to be home taking care of their siblings or something, there's always going to be a way for them to keep the interaction. They're not going to be missing meetings. There will always be, some device there that basically has, a video screen where they can connect. And all these kids are so used to doing Zoom. I mean, my kids are Zoom experts because all of their classes were on Zoom for a year and a half. Think of that, for a year and a half. They had to do all of their schoolwork on Zoom. So all the teachers are masters at it, and all the kids are masters at it. So I just wanted to throw that in there as a consideration, because the simpler we can make this, the better, and that's going to simplify the process massively. Because if we just sell this as something we can create on Zoom or on X, and it's points based, and there's incentives and there's rewards, and it's going to look great on their college applications. It's going to look great on their, their work applications. I mean, every single thing about it, it's like Peace Corps, but mixed with Scouting, mixed with Model UN, mixed with Boys and Girls Clubs of America, mixed with, I mean, just everything. We can take all the best of everything and roll it into one beautiful package. And I'm telling, my kids are the most creative, industrious, resourceful kids. And once you guys help me show them that this is a legitimate thing that we're doing, they'll get on board and they want to earn SSL hours from this. All three of my kids need lots of SSL hours. You know, I used to plan all these events, you know, way before, you know, I could have signed off on hundreds and hundreds of SSL hours for them, but you know, it was pre, you don't need them until you start middle school. So, so anyway, I'm probably going to mute myself for a bit because, yeah, I'm kind of like zapped. I'm going to meditate for a bit. Love to hear everybody else's perspectives. Yeah, but I'm about making this as simple as possible and having full collaboration with all voices, just throwing everything they've got on the table and just keep condensing, narrowing it down until we've got the thing that makes the most sense. So I hate to be like so stoic, but I am, you know, when I'm on this path, I become very, very stoic. I'm like, let's just get this stuff done.
Okay, and I gotta say goodbye, but
All right, Jack, great having you here, buddy. And
yeah, it's been
we'll
very
see you soon.
interesting. I'm happy to see this thing jump to another level, Jamin. This is great.
It's jumping right now. You're watching the jump
I
as we
am.
speak. All right. So building, okay. An idea just occurred to me, which is that we build kind of a meme built around a name. And one meme and name that just popped in is the Emperor's New Clothes, right? And because, you know, who was it who pointed out that the Emperor was naked? It was a kid. It was a kid, right? And so we might have, you know, some artwork of like, you know, Joe Biden, you know, all old and senile and just out of it, you know, with, I don't know, maybe a leaf over his crotch area, of another one with Trump, maybe the two of them standing side by side, like they're about to box each other, but you know, you know, maybe with the side view they're fully naked, but you don't see anything inappropriate because it's a side view. They're each kind of turned a little enough away from the camera that but it's like, you know, our choice is between two different naked emperors, and they're so bamboozled by whatever they're addicted to, right? The military industrial complex or big money or whatever the hell, central banks, that they're just totally ineffective. And so the kids then come forward and start working on solutions, right? Because the reality is, in every adult, there's a little emperor, right, who's bamboozled, who's just laser focused on, you know, their job, whatever their career, making money. And that's, I'd say, characteristic mainly of the male parents, or just the males in society. We tend to, you know, find our little niche and then just laser focus on that. Meanwhile, it's the mothers who, by their very nature, are able to multitask and keep track of multiple kids and multiple potential threats. And we need to make sure we have water and food and firewood and this and this and this. And they're the ones who keep, you know, the very complex, massive train of household affairs running, while their husband, you know, focuses on, you know, just bringing home the money, basically. So there's an opportunity for the students and their mothers to form this, you know, that's the SP in the SPAT acronym, students and parents, you know, forming this kind of unexpected leadership. I mean, in the story, The Emperor's New Clothes, it was the kid who provided this unexpected, unanticipated form of leadership in saying, hey, I can see what's going on here, and it's a bunch of BS. And in addition to sounding the alarm, it's also coming up with the solution. And as we've talked about, the various different experts, policymakers, et cetera, are going to, they're going to respond when the kids reach out to them. They're going to say, well, of course, we're happy to talk with you, right? So anyway, with that, I'll pass the talking feather. Thank you.
Well, I'll just say, sorry, I didn't know my mic was unmuted a while ago, so sorry for the language, but I got a shock when Jim mentioned me genitals. But, yeah, no, the only thing I'd say there, though, Jim, and again, like, I would just say, like, again, like, I don't know, you're only throwing an idea out, like, but, like, I would refrain from any pictures of politicians or anything, because it's to get automatically seem like we're coming, it's a political thing or whatever, and it seems like we're throwing a topic of conversation out there as well. Again, it's an example that we don't need to give them, like, but, yeah, no, I think, like, if you're going to go to the school with this next week, I think you have to have a refined anyway for this to get past the board, is what I'm saying. And so, yeah, it has to be all about the student. I think we more or less have it, but I think we're maybe just a little bit ahead of ourselves if you think you're going to approach the school with it next week. Like, that's all I'm saying. Be a bit hesitant about that anyway. Just
So
take your time.
Let me clarify, and not to interrupt you, James, I'll give you the feather back in 10 seconds, but just to clarify that what Sienna was suggesting is that she brings together a bunch of mothers who she's very, very tight with. And it would just be an internal conversation amongst the mothers and myself and, et cetera, but nothing to go to the schools yet until we've got it really polished. But I think that's a great idea. Back to you, James.
Yeah, no, same thing. School, mothers, whoever. I mean, the mothers are the parents of the children. They're even more important than what the school thinks. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, the parents are more important there. Like, so that's why I'm saying just be like, you'll have to have it in an elevator pitch what the program we're trying to introduce is, and it has to be all around the students. But like, just don't and I think the Sienna agrees with me in that sense as well. That we can't list topics, whether it's in a curriculum form or just listing them as examples. We just don't, because we're automatically being pigeonholed in something like, oh, this is what you're up to, or this is politically motivated, or this is a climate motivated, or whatever. So let the students pick the topics, is what I'm saying. So what you're pitching to the school and the parents is, the idea is about, as we said there a while ago in a nutshell, it's about addressing the concerns of the students for their future of the globe, the future global concerns, about addressing them by a platform, giving them a platform and a speaking platform and a way to co-create, so that they don't have to, so that they can address their concerns and be active parts in creating their future. You know what I mean? They're going to have to design their own future. So that's basically it in a nutshell. So if you can refine it around that, that's what you're bringing to the parents and the school itself. It's a program to give the students agency over their lack of optimism for the future. You know what I mean? Passing the feather.
Yeah, good stuff. I totally agree, James. I'm just kind of thinking of kind of like a meme. Totally agree. Don't include any, politically charged imagery or anything like that. But what could be a good meme? The Emperor's New Clothes. Something that kind of, remember the important principle here of blasting into the mind, right? And that's what makes me gravitate towards something that is like, boom, the emperor is dazed and confused and does not have this thing sorted out, anywhere near sorted out. So, let us come together, the students, the teachers, the parents, let us come together and work on this. But something that, has that kind of blast value, if you will. I don't know what it is. That's why I just threw out the Emperor's New Clothes as just kind of one possible idea. But anyway, back to you guys, passing the feather.
Well, that is where that's what I'm saying is that is where now a little bit of time and research into having in essence of giving examples. The best example we can give as to why we're producing or presenting this program is the recent studies that have been done by colleges like the University of London's latest study just last week about how much lack of faith or optimism that these students have in the future. You know what I mean? And the one I showed you on the video there the other night where Paul Beckett was talking about that study on that letter he was reading on that video. The info is on that, and basically what you're going to be presenting to the school and to the parents is that there's peer-reviewed literature out there now, studies that have just come out stating that majority of young people today have no optimism for the future. They have no, they're just have no faith in a future for themselves, and that this is a program to help them deal with that and give them a sense of agency. In a sense, that's what we're offering. So you don't have to mention any topics in a sense or anything, just that you only have to mention the fact that these studies are proven that there is a lack of optimism for their future. All young people have, and these are peer-reviewed studies. The one that Paul Becker brought up in that video I showed you the other night, that letter that he was reading out, or that article he was reading out, that has all the information on it. I'm saying all you have to do is freeze the video there, copy and paste the image of the print and present these to the school and the parents. Look, this is the latest study out and this, that. Because it's about a program for the pupils. But that's why I'm saying it's a win-win for everyone. It's a program is to help the students to deal with their fears for the future, to help build a new future for themselves, to be part of it, and give them a sense of agency and a sense of relief of not being frustrated because they're treated like children, letting them have the fucking say in what it is they want to talk about, get involved out and get involved in and form the groups for. So, it's a win-win for everyone. It's a good program, but you just don't bring any agendas there, such as it's about global warming, or this is an example of what it could be about, or anything like that. It's just the actual program itself. As you said a while ago, and as I said earlier, if we design this as a fractal, this program as a fractal, it'll build on itself. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think it's the best way to keep it simple, and I think that's about the best way to go about it. And all of the other things then that you're saying, how it can grow and how you can see it come, all of those will develop naturally anyway, because the students will be, more or less creating it, because that's what we're doing as well. We're giving them a sense of agency, letting them make the decisions, letting them learn the facts and discuss the proper, the conversations properly without being kept out of the loop, so to speak. For them to create their own future. So, in a sense, I think it's good for everyone that way. And you're not introducing any agendas either when you're presenting the idea to the parents or the teachers. Anyway, leave it at that, passing the fellow.
Good stuff, James. Sienna, are you popping in? Go for it.
Yeah, I'd also like to, and sorry, I've kind of popped out in and out, my little goofy 12-year-old. The idea of kind of like a debate within each of these kind of working think groups where, there's obviously going to be different perspectives, but if they have the same overall interest, and then just with different perspectives within each of those interests, we could have kind of like part of the program be focused on debate, and then the winner, basically, who comes up with the most commonalities and the greatest sense of kind of coming from a place of center, gets a prize. The debate winner is the one who finds the simplest solution that kind of makes everyone in the group, feel like their voice is heard, and that what they said was integrated into the solution. I passed the feather.
I just want to jump in because I don't want to sound critical, but I'm really, Sienna, hesitant about this prize thing because I think that just continues teaching us to be competitive. And then we work towards getting a prize or being a winner or being first. I looked up the Finnish education system, which is pretty revolutionary. They've reformed their whole system. A lot of it's student-led. It's non-competitive. It's equitable. And so I'm just wondering if we could rethink the structure of that, you know, where the winning is the participating, not the winning. You know what I mean? Not winning a prize necessarily. I loved your idea though about the food gift certificates. Or maybe what we could do is just have a celebratory meal or something at the end of a debate where everyone gets to celebrate together that we're alive and we're all working together or participating together. Just a thought.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, at that level, yeah, it could just be they get like a big bag of candy or something. I don't know, maybe not candy's candy's probably not the best one, but just something you know, if it's the person maybe who put the most kind of effort and thought and had the greatest sense of empathy for and compassion for the entire situation. Because I mean, to me, it's like fostering a sense of collaboration and understanding. And yeah, maybe it's just like a Hershey's chocolate bar or something, but it's just something where it's almost like a competitive spirit and like you're playing Monopoly or something. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like a big prize, but just something where um you get something additional and it's just kind of like a joke. I don't know. I just know that kids love to win little things, and yeah, it doesn't even have to be something material. So I'll think about that. No, I completely understand where you're coming from though.
Beautiful. Great conversation. I think we're really rooting down here. And Kelly, welcome. And Kelly has her hand up, followed by Marco. And Marco, would you be game to kind of host and direct traffic for a bit?
In this
Yep,
case,
you're
it
good.
would
Okay.
Kelly
Huh?
would be his hand up.
Oh, Kelly, I'm so sorry, dude. I just saw the name, and anyway, probably not the first time. Kelly, go for it, my man.
You just need to unmute, Kelly. Oh, where'd you go?
Okay. Anyway, Kelly, whenever you're ready, please jump in. And in the meantime, Marco, or actually, Marco, you're directing traffic, so go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say kind of had depended on Kelly's participation. There we go. There you are. Now you just need to unmute.
Wow, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Right, okay, yeah, I was pressing all these different buttons and seeing different things, and I'm not used to Zoom yet, so, and it's on my phone. Yeah, thanks for sharing the link with me the other day. I tried to get in a couple times, and I just personal stuff kept me busy, and I was just wondering what the topic was exactly. It sounds curious, and that's all I wanted to know is just like what exactly everyone's talking about.
Yeah, perfect. This, and I was just going to say, you know, Jamin, when you talked about, you know, wearing this down to the 3-minute or
oh, it's
pitch.
perfect.
You
This
want,
is a it's a perfect
this
opportunity.
Exactly.
So let's co-create the pitch. And Kelly, we're going to use you as a benevolent guinea pig. And so please, like, ask questions. Let's make it an interactive co-creation of the 3-minute elevator pitch. And it may take a few iterations. So please don't get frustrated. But I would, and I'm going to defer to Sienna because this is your baby. But I also want to respect that you need to rest your brain a little bit. So I'm happy to carry the beat, and then you just jump in if and when you feel like it. But feel free to not jump in at all and just give yourself a rest, okay? And everyone's invited in the co-creation here. So let's just kind of let's kind of popcorn it. Everyone say something very brief, and then shut up, and then let the next person say something brief, and then they can shut up, and that way we just keep popcorning it around. So in that spirit, I'll set the example, and just Sienna, you just jump in because I'm not even going to be looking at the screen. I'm going to take a hike up to the deck and just leave my microphone unmuted like I did last week. But here's the gist, Kelly. We go to the high schools of the world, starting with those in the Washington, D.C. area, starting with those in Montgomery County, which is where Sienna is, and she is a prominent matriarch with literally 3 high school age kids. I think one's about to enter high school, but anyway, those are details. 3 high school age kids right in the middle of it, spanning the whole, from beginning to end of high school. What we have here is a county that's very powerful, very connected, and where their parents are all very connected. These are the policymakers of the world. The parents of these kids are the policymakers of the world, the lawmakers, policymakers, etc., influencers, lobbyists. What do they all have in common? They're extremely good at connecting. And what we need right now is connection. We all need to come together, and we all of us, students, parents, administrators, and teachers, led by some prominent parents of Montgomery County, are taking the lead on inviting us all to come together in conversation. That's the bottom line. There's a lot of cool things we can do, contexts for conversation like auditorium or cafeteria where there's a whole bunch of tables, Zoom and all that. But let's demote medium for a moment and focus on the essence. It's us coming together, number one. And number two, honoring the brilliance and potential and passion of our high school students. Let's face it, they've got a lot of free time. They've got a lot of freedom, right? Basically, the only thing they really have to do is their homework and study. And then beyond that, their life is their life. When were we more free than when we were in high school? Some people may challenge that. I was a bit of a bookworm, pretty much strapped to my desk, but that was by choice. And I still did some cool stuff, played soccer and, did my volunteer stuff and did some work and, et cetera. But it's a time when we have a tremendous amount of freedom and we're open. We're not so jaded. We're not so addicted to money or alcohol or whatever, right? We're relatively free and innocent, but goodness, we have so much energy, boundless energy and creativity, and our minds are so open. Our minds are like sponges. So it's both elevating the high school students to basically join the club of adults, because guess what? The other adults are screwing it up. We haven't put it together. We need you. And perhaps that's one of the most important messages. Students, teenagers, we need you. In fact, we need you all. Eventually, it's going to spill down to middle schoolers and even K through 5. And these genius kindergartners who keep popping out. We need all of humanity to come together. We've hierarchied our way into a terrible corner. We've hierarchied our way into a terrible, terrible corner of separation. And it's important to name the enemy, and it's important to have a proper diagnosis. If you want a good cure at the hospital, the first thing is a proper diagnosis. What does homeboy got? Does he got AIDS? Does he got jock itch? The common cold, COVID, what does homeboy got? What we got is separation, hierarchy and separation. Now, those are big, deep topics, big, deep philosophical topics. That's great. But right now we urgently, beyond philosophy, we need to zero right in on the solution. And that is the cure is togetherness, coming together. Hug. Hug is our acronym. Hug, Jizzy, ACT, stuff, stuff that brings us together. So it's all about togetherness, coming together in conversation in an unbounded network of conversations, both within the DC, SPAT communities, students, parents, administrators, and teachers, SPAT. Within the SPAT communities, we come together in an unbounded network of conversations focused on, organized by topic. Anything that you can articulate, that you can talk about, you can put it into a topic. you may have to create a new topic. That's fine. Birthing topics welcome, but we organize ourselves in conversations by topic. We then expand to all high schools, not just in the country, but in the world, with automatic translation and everything. It's totally feasible now. So you now have topic groups that span many countries and many different ages. And finally, humanity is coming together in conversation. And it's led by students. Who else? And mothers. Thank you very much, Sienna, who, care too much about the integrity of their kids and what they're learning and the examples we're setting for them and the examples they're setting for each other. We care too much to let it be anything but absolutely fantastic and amazing, with integrity, with safety, with good, grounding principles. And there come in ever living meetings and universal logic. Sienna, do you want a weak frame on the chassis of your Tesla or a strong frame? It's really simple. You want good, philosophical, linguistic, communicative, agreement wise. We need universal logic, and we need to know how to talk with each other, and we're figuring that out. We need to figure out how to do that in an unbounded network of conversations. We can't do that if people are going around hating on each other, judging each other, and having stupid philosophical and communication foundations. Anyway, with that, I pass the feather. Thank you.
Okay, and I should have timed you, but I know that wasn't 3 minutes.
No. We can pull it out of the transcript. Actually, let me pull a Mark McCormick here and see if I can pull it out of the transcript. So I ended around
the elevator was in the basement for a long time. Yeah.
All right. Well,
James,
let's.
What's more important is, does Kelly understand what we're trying to do? That's what did he get?
That's what we're talking about here. And so Kelly, we're using you as a benevolent guinea pig. Chime in anytime.
You need to let him speak so you can understand if he got the gist.
That's what I was saying. Kelly, please speak up.
James, you sound amazing.
Oh, James is amazing.
Kelly, thanks, man. Nice to meet you, man.
So Mark and
Mark McCormick.
You guys are talking Mark's language here.
Well, yes, we are. He's one of our heroes, and he's going to be one of the foundational Gandalfs of this whole thing. But it's going to be led by the matriarchy, led by Sienna specifically, and her other amazing matriarch, buddies. And
is there anybody else in Edmonton?
Anyone what?
Anybody else in Mark City in Edmonton? Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Yeah.
Not anybody here right now.
Yeah, just not at the moment. But anyway, we'll follow up on Edmonton social stuff later. Right now, let's stay on topic of what I described. Do you have questions? Do you have any questions about what we're up to, or is it all crystal clear? What do you got, Kelly?
Wow. What do you call that? Spat? That was cool. That's I didn't know that term before. That's interesting.
No, we invented it, and it's because it sounds funny. Like
it's good. It could have been invented already.
Yeah, no, and well, listen, it actually was. I'm plagiarizing a little bit here from the movie. It's about a boy or whatever. It's a comedy with Hugh Grant. It's kind of a love comedy kind of thing with Hugh Grant. I'm kind of a sap for those things. But but he goes and hits on this single mother by joining their group called SPAT. It's for single parents, and it's called Single Parents Alone Together, SPAT. But it's really, but it's hilarious. But anyway, so we just use SPAT because it sounds funny. But students, parents, administrators, teachers. Anyway, but so back to the core concept. I mean, do you feel like you're getting it? It's crystal clear. And if I'm grilling you too much, Sienna, just jump in. You've got priority here.
Like I think so. Okay, so if you want, I don't know where to jump in exactly. So
well, feel free to ask questions like, well, what the hell do you guys actually do? Who are you people? Whatever questions come up for you, just fire away.
Yeah, my phone's ringing. Sorry, and every time my phone rings, it goes mute, and I don't hear. So,
you want me to repeat the question?
Please.
Okay. So what I'm suggesting, Kelly, is that you just take full license to fire away with any questions you may have. Like, for example, okay, what are you people actually proposing to do? All these ideas sound great, but you're just a bunch of, unwashed hippies. Who the hell do you guys think you are? No, really, fire away. Literally, I mean, I'm asking as a favor that you do this, and it's only life or death, Kelly, because either we come together or we don't. And James, feel free to jump in, especially if I'm grilling poor Kelly too hard. But I'm
also,
just. But go ahead, Kelly.
While I'm babbling, I'm also trying to put pieces together in my head and figure it out. So yeah, like exactly
ask
what you're
questions.
doing. So
What are we doing?
so
Okay, what are we
what
doing is the
economics-
question.
Okay, what
Huh?
about economics? So that's what I'm all about is economics. And so if is anybody trying to organize the students and their parents to put together a cooperative of any kind?
Absolutely, a food cooperative is very high on the list. We've been doing food healers in California and Arizona for quite some time, and so in fact I can play a video for you just to give you an example of.
We'll do that later, Jim, in the second there.
Okay, that's fair. It was only going to take a few seconds, but go ahead, James. I defer to you.
Yeah, sorry, what I was saying, Jim, and it's like that's sidetracking as well. Like the essence of what we're doing here, and I was seeing if Kelly understands because he asked the question, "What are we up to?" Like, and what's the gist of the conversation? So I think we should stick true to that. Like, so I know you seem like you're getting a little under pressure there, Jim, and we were like did a Gestapo there on the poor boy. He was like, "Oh, what do you think?" You know what I mean? So I mean, what do you think? But you know what I mean, give him a chance. So all I'm saying is, Kelly, if you didn't understand exactly what Jamin was saying, he failed with his 3-minute elevator pitch while he was in the basement in 5 minutes, right? So we'll leave it at that now for a second. That was Act 1, Jamin. We'll have to refine it a bit. So I'll just have a small go at it now, and I'll give a 3-minute elevator pitch. So are you all right, Kelly? You can hear me, yeah? As long as I know I'm talking to him. Can you hear me, Kelly? Give me a.
He's on his he's on his phone. He sometimes may have trouble unmuting. He's just getting used to it. But I it's all recorded anyway. I'd just go for it, James.
Well, what we're doing is basically there's enough study and enough information, and you only have to look out there to realize that most of the youth of today have very little optimism for the future and a lot of concerns for their future, and I mean their global concerns for the future, right from the big problems down to their own individual problems. They have enough to be dealing with and a lot of worries, and they feel that they're not being treated like adults and they're not given a voice. So what we're introducing is a program where we're basically offering a platform and giving them a direction in how to form groups and to be able to use this platform in order to form collective groups specifically focused on the topics that most concern them, in an effort to alleviate their fears by bringing experts to the fore to speak to them on the individual topics and give them an opportunity to question those experts and find out more, as much as they need to know about the truth of these subjects, so that they can then alleviate a lot of their stresses, get help in order doing it, and also to have some form of agency by maybe forming groups to address a lot of these different problems, whether they're big problems or small problems. They can they can form groups, and they can start this on a pilot scheme in their own individual high school. And once it starts, it's like a fractal. It'll then, by reaching out to other high schools, it'll start to grow. And basically, it's an opportunity to give them a voice for their concerns, alleviate their concerns, have some agency in addressing those concerns, and rather than having no optimism for the future, an opportunity to build the future for themselves. And the program will also then be also beneficial to their point system for their studies. And yes, there would be different kind of systems there that would be available for help, even right down to the financial help and everything else. All of those would be addressed by the students bringing up the topics themselves, by basically addressing the students' concerns. I'll leave it at that.
That was awesome, James. And we're going to switch this up a little bit, Kelly, and give Sienna the next chance to, give her views on what it is, and then we'll get back to you again, Kelly, if you're still free to play with us. And there's super tough skin here. When you have questions or concerns about it, be as critical as you want when asking those questions. You're not going to hurt anybody's feelings here. And with that, I pass to you, Sienna.
Hi, Kelly. It's so nice to meet you, and I'm so glad to see the Waleed back. And Waleed, I know it's super late for you. Just know that we can recap tomorrow if you have to go. But so Kelly, kind of I've been writing down. This is just like I always have like a million things I'm writing down, but hug is kind of, it's just the way I'm processing my thoughts on this, and I'll try to condense it because I did write a little section in here. Why are we doing this? This is to get the future generation of kids engaged and excited about their future by helping them craft and narrate. Wait, I think I wrote craft a future narrative that most aligns with the world that they most want to live in, to raise kids in, to play, to exist, to work in. I mean, what world do they want? Because right now the kids who are living under their parents' roofs, like my 3 kids, all their needs are met, all their wants are met. I know that that's not true across the board, especially once we go on a global scale. So the program that we are trying to propose is one that would be scalable, kind of like on a global scale. I mean, to me, we could simplify this almost to like an IKEA, just like a page, like a laminated page where, it's like once any person over the age of 18, I would say, gets like just kind of an introduction to this, and it could be a YouTube video. I mean, all of this can be done with relatively, almost no cost, because the volunteers would be, it would be the time more than, because it's a think tank. It's not so much, events will happen eventually, but right now it is just getting the minds connected. So there's, it's just basically a web of volunteers, having conversations about how to bridge unnecessary divides and how to get kids involved. And Jamin, another thing I was considering it, I can do like a parent conversation. I can just have a big happy hour here next week, and everybody shows up for my happy hours. But I'll have before we start pouring, lots of drinks, it'll be, I want you to talk to this group, and it could be next Friday even. Basically,
Sure.
This is what we are proposing. We can condense our message down to 3 minutes, because the best way you're going to sell this is by selling it to the parents in my friend group, because they are the volunteers. They're the ones who really, really push forward and spend a lot of their own time making sure that their kids, get a good experience. So if we do that, then we can have it be, I mean, in our school system, it's PTA in the elementary schools, and it goes to PTSA. And you're calling it SPAT. It doesn't matter. But what I'd recommend is approaching, once the adult or the parents that I'm, pretty close with agree to this, and I across the board, the ones that I invite to this, they will all. I mean, I'll only invite the ones that I know will absolutely agree to it, because they're waiting for something like this. I mean, the parents are like, we all lament about the fact that we used to volunteer and do all these wonderful things, and now there's opportunities. Just they're very different once you're in high school, even in junior high. So my middle is in junior high school right now. He's seventh. So I have a seventh, 10th, and an 11th grader. And so the more we involve, I would say local churches, the parent teachers, administrators, all of these people, the local grocery stores and restaurants, and I wrote, churches, schools, libraries, museums, aquariums. We can go to NIH, we can go to NASA, we can go to all these places that these kids, some form or some grouping of kids is going to be out of 2000 is going to be interested in all these random topics. And all we're doing is providing kind of an algorithm, a simple formula for them to not only find the thought leaders that are kind of leading the conversations that they would find engaging, but it also helps them link up with members of Congress and Senate, and they will be super engaged in this because they're future voters. It's going to be a win-win-win-win-win for everybody. Literally, we will make it such a simple process, and 99.9% of it is going to be volunteer. And it's all going to be online for the most part, other than, when we have information sessions and food, and we are going to do super healthy, vegan, like just fantastic food. I'm a really good cook. That's actually the thing I'm best at, is cooking. So, yeah, this is going to be and it's going to be fun. Kelly, it's going to be really, really, I know that I'm like super stoic and boring to listen to, but I know how to plan a party. And, I used to plan tons of events for the same kids, now they're teenagers, but, I planned hundreds of events for these kids when they were younger. And, a lot of them, I mean, they will all know who I am. And we'll have a DJ. We'll have, everybody up on stage is going to be in costume. We're going to have a skit. We're going to have trivia. We can even do like little, things where we've got somebody in the audience, or Jamin could be running around in the audience with a little microphone and, popping in on people. It's going to be so creative and so engaging and interactive for these kids that they're going to be pumped. So that's what I envision. And with that, I pass the feather.
Thanks, Sienna. That was awesome. Okay.
And Marco,
Kelly?
I'm raising my hand. But Kelly, go ahead. And Kelly, I want to apologize for getting a bit too intense earlier. We've been here for most of the day on Zoom, so some of us go a little stir crazy. So I apologize. Please don't.
No
Please
need
don't
to
take offense.
apologize. No need to apologize. You can go ahead. I'm driving right now, so and I'm also listening. And
Okay, we'll safety first. So don't even worry about us if you need to focus on driving. But so Marco, can I go? Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
I was just saying, you go ahead. It's okay. Go ahead.
All right, Jamin.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Love everything you just said, Sienna and James before you, and Marco and Melissa. I think we're really hitting it out of the park. But to build off of what Sienna was saying, Kelly, I'm Darth Vegan, so I dress as completely as Darth Vader. I take off the helmet and I sing, Spanish love songs, English love songs, and I've done it for food healers events where we feed everyone for free, and some other missions that I believe in, like cooling the planet. James and I and a couple other colleagues were in Glasgow, Scotland for COP26 at the end of 2021, the big global UN funded, supported climate conference. Anyway, bottom line, so Darth Vegan is quite a character, and it's in a way sort of plays this sort of village fool role. There's many components to the hyper object, but among them is village fool. So fool in the sense of the Middle Ages, in the courts and everything, the jester. and the one who makes everyone laugh and provides music and entertainment and food also. And so I become sort of a bit of a lightning rod. But I'm buddies with Sienna. We just discovered we were separated at birth. So we're just like, we see things so parallel, which is a big strength. But we're also very open-minded, and, we're all co-creating this together. But basically, we're creating, through a series of events and surveys and ways of connecting with the student body and the teachers and the other parents and the administrators. And Sienna's plugged into all of the above. I mean, literally all the above. She is just ultra plugged in. Everybody loves her. Great chef, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A mama bear, model matriarch, right? And so this is the matriarchy stepping forward. So she is the matriarch, and I'm the warrior who goes out on the front lines. If anyone's going to take it in the face or take it in the gut or wherever, it's going to be me, right? And so I'm but because I'm always happy and laughing and singing, right? Ain't nobody going to get, Mr. Rogers down, right? And there's so many red hot topics to discuss. And part of the Darth Vader thing is shock, is like shock and awe. Wait a second, we need to wake up and face the music. We've got big problems to solve, and we need to do it together. And with that, I pass the feather. Thank you. And I've got more to say, so Marco, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, I think Kelly, if you're willing right now, if you could kind of just let us know what you think the project looks like to you from what you've heard. And before asking any questions right now, explain what you've gathered from what we've really spewed at you. We great response.
Yeah, I'm not the best subject either, because I got a few mutes there, and I mean, like you guys sound great, like Sienna, and James, you sound like you should be radio hosts. So it's, and what I understand about the project, I missed bits and pieces. Like there's like I can't explain it like you just did, obviously. Like I could try to repeat what I remember. But like the getting of the students together part, and like giving them the power and the autonomy. No, what was that word? That word, agency. Yeah. Yeah. So then, like, what are the students gonna do? That's my question, I guess. And, sorry, you said no questions. Just try to wrap
that's
up.
it's okay.
Yeah. So I don't know exactly yet. Just maybe because I missed a few parts, and also I'm fairly distracted, so I'm not the best subject to like. I'm not your best guinea pig. But I'm curious, like, what are the students going to do? Like write in topics?
Yeah. Okay, I can take it, or Marco, you direct. No, James got it. James has it.
Let me throw in my 2 cents now. Basically, and I'm going to try. I'm really going for the simplification here, so there'll be some questions, I'm sure, after. But we're facing, as you know from Mark, we're facing mega crises in the world right now, and everything we do or don't do right now is going to make a difference whether there is a life for these children that are in the schools right now, because we're on a very short timeline. So what and because of the location of these schools, Sienna being in Washington, near DC, many of the students in these schools are the children of ambassadors and politicians and policymakers. So they're when they hear their parents talk, they're hearing what's going on in the world, but still maybe from a politically skewed point of view rather than a factual representation of the facts that we're facing in the world right now. So part of this is to educate them. We know that, you know, it's their world that's coming, so they should have a say, and they very often feel that they don't. There's several reports out that, you know, like one here they did across several countries, and the responses from the kids on climate change were 59% were extremely worried, 84% were at least moderately worried, more than 50% reported each of the following emotions: sad, anxious, angry, powerless, helpless, and guilty. More than 45% of the respondents feel their feelings about climate change negatively affected their daily life and functioning, and many reported high numbers of negative thoughts about climate change.
Is this sexism? Was it? Is it?
Is 75% said they think the future is frightening, and 83% said that they think the people have failed to take care of the planet. Respondents rated government responses to climate change negatively and reported greater feelings of betrayal than of reassurance. Climate anxiety and distress were correlated with perceived inadequate government responses and associated feelings of betrayal. Now, that's just one of the problems we have. In my opinion, doesn't matter on where it ranks in the multiple crises we face right now. They're pushing us towards extinction. But if there's anybody who has a stake in the game, it's the kids. So part of the beginning of this, we'll do a survey of the kids in each school district, and we have, you know, beautiful access to the schools because of Sienna and her connection to the school system. She's volunteered in the school system for more than 10 years. She has kids, you know, 13 and 12, turning 13 next week, up to 18, 3 children in the, so she has a good take on the school district and how it works there. So we'll do it. One way we're thinking about going about is do a survey of the kids. What are their 5 or 10 top concerns in life? And then working off of that system, I guarantee you that climate will be in there. So, you know, my guess would be high up on the list. But again, that's an issue that's very close to my heart. And I, you know, we've studied a lot here, and we get reports directly from the scientists, have the scientists hear and explain things to us from time to time. Scientists, engineers, climate activists, etc. All people very knowledgeable in the actual facts, not what you see in the news, not what you see on social media. So based on that survey, then we'll go into the school and do a presentation. And if, just for an example, if you know, for those that choose to worry about or are worried about the climate and want to do something about it, we're going to give them all set up, you know, everything they need to know about that, offer them people like Paul Beckwith to come and give them a talk, and then give them the power to organize, you know, after school, or and do, you know, lead into the future. And once these kids have all this knowledge and have some experience, it's going to give them a sense of hope, and it's going to give them conversations that they'll have with their parents, who are right now the policymakers of the world, or at least this country, which, you know, greatly reflects everything that happens in the world. So we're empowering the children to let us know what their concerns are, and then helping them get all the information they need to be proactive. And with that, I'm complete.
Sounds good. It makes sense. Like, so students, yeah, they're going to be concerned about this or that, depending on what access to information they have, right? So it's their access of information that'll determine what they're thinking about, like what's most critical. Yeah, so it's good that they can voice it and say what they've heard from other people. That's interesting. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. Like, yeah, let's inform them and give them ability. Like the agency, I don't know how we get them money you know, but maybe that's the thing. What are they going to do with the money? I have some ideas, but I'm just joining, so I would rather hear more and more of your ideas.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, and we've addressed, you know, at least superficially all those issues. It will, you know, the world still runs on money, and I'm sure with your background, you know that as well as anyone. So yeah, great. That's awesome input, Kelly, and it works right into helping us hone this down to a launch very soon in the next few weeks. So thank you very much. And with that, I'm complete. And Jamin, your hand is up next.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Kelly. And Marco, I see Sienna's got her hand up, so I'll be brief. I wanted to add that, you know, in terms of our elevator pitch, I think it's important to identify the it, you know, what is it that we are, you know, doing, proposing. The main noun here is a network of conversations, an unbounded network of conversations. Now, out of conversations, lots of things grow. Projects, programs, solutions, etc. So it's all centered around this network of conversations. And with that, I pass the.
I'm sorry, and that brings you up, Sienna.
Okay. So it's funny, I completely forgotten about this one segment, and it was a pretty big segment of my life, where I was fundraising for a school for a boss who I used to work for, who I basically did everything for this man. He was, you know, a gajillionaire, and he had a son who had cerebral palsy. He was very bright, but his body was very, very, he didn't have use of one of his hands. He had to walk, you know, I think he had all these special mobility devices, but he was very bright. And so my boss created a school called Virginia Commonwealth Academy to ensure that someone like him didn't fall through the cracks. And how could he do this? He could do this because he was a master, and this is how I know how to do this. I worked under this guy for 6 years, and he taught me how to, you know, if you have an idea, this is how you make it a reality. And that's a big part of this is, you know, what are the steps involved in taking an idea and making it a reality. And I think the more we simplify that process for the kids, which it truly can be a very simple process. And my sweet little 12-year-old came in right as I said that. For, you know, them to understand that the more they're engaged, and it's just like, you know, with Girl Scouts, with the cookie sales that we used to do, they were engaged in every step of the process. And so these, you know, like 7, 8-year-old girls are having, you know, they're running a business, you know, and think about that. So, and they were so engaged and so excited because they felt, like they were in charge, you know, and they made the decisions. And, you know, I gave them a lot of agency, you know, even when they were really young, you know. Yeah, I would give them lots of different options, and that's kind of what I want to do here is just make it so that everybody feels you know, like they fit in somewhere, you know, because the significance of that alone, mental health right now, around the world for teens, because they just went through COVID. I mean, this is like a crisis. That alone is a huge, in our zip code, that might be one of the top topics up there with the environment and geopolitical, like, you know, disputes and conflicts. It would probably be mental health because you know, it's like a battlefield out there. It is. I mean, kids just don't know. They don't know what's going to happen next week. You know, and as AI is changing everything, I mean, I don't know how easy it will become or how hard it will be to to kind of decipher what's real and what's not. And we're already in that window. You know, think of this, the campaign ads, you know, that you could, I mean, because of these new AI programs, I mean, it's insane. You can create completely realistic looking videos that are completely fabricated. And so the era of knowing what's real and what's not is unfortunately behind us. And because of that, the kids, everything's about to change. It just will, you know, the futurist of the world. And these are guys I definitely want to get in. Jamin, you'll understand this in a second. John Nosta, Brian Rommel, and Robert Scoble. They're the top names in AI, and the top names in tech. Brian Rommel has been one of the top names in the music industry and tech for 40 years. And we've DM'd multiple times. He's the nicest guy. He's the one who started a project called it's literally, it's brilliant. You guys will absolutely love this. It's 1,000 questions that you ask, and you may have seen it, but it's how to get people, like at the end of their life, or at any stage of their life, to ask 1,000 questions, really relevant questions, like deep, like meaningful questions that makes them pause and reflect on their life and consider what was important, consider historical, you know, significant events that happened. It's such a magnificent, it's like a time capsule for future generations. And what he's trying to do is get it to be this viral thing where, you know, if you understand more about your genetics, if you understand more about what your family went through, and how fortunate you are to have, you know, what you have, because everybody just gets a lottery ticket at birth, you know. Some of us get good ones, some of us get bad ones, and everything in between. And we have to factor that into every single facet of what we're doing here. We have to keep it so broad in scope that there is no bias, there is no, you guys know what I'm talking about. Sorry, my brain just went blank for a second there. There's a really weird sound going outside right now, some very odd wind. Anyway, we together we're gonna enact you know, potentially one of the greatest things that's ever happened for humanity. And I say that with full humility. It's just, you know, I mean, if you're on this call, you felt called, and then there was alignment. And then we just all magically stumbled, you know, upon each other, and we've all had these synchronicities that led us right here. And oh my gosh, we all just, you know, miraculously understand we can speak at the same frequency without anybody feeling like offended or like they're not a part of this. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to have the highest level conversations, because the highest level solutions come for those conversations. And that is what I just really appreciate about this group. And yeah, I think together we can achieve, you know, anything, because we're leading from a place of heart-centeredness and integrity and transparency and empathy and compassion and all the good stuff. And I literally could could, I mean, Waleed and I, oh my gosh, we're so funny together. I mean, we could just talk for probably 10 years straight, 10 years straight, 10 years straight, and it would all be good, like positive, like, yeah, we're gonna fix it, we're just gonna change it all. And while Waleed's positivity is infectious. And that is why I asked him to join the space. And right now, I'm sure it's very late for you because he's in Switzerland. But Waleed, you are the best of the best of the best in my eyes. You are just genuine and humble and in it for all the right reasons. All the right reasons. And yes, I mean, I am honored to be walking this path with all of you. I just really wanted to thank Waleed for just jumping in here, and you're still here. I've been in these calls for just a few weeks now, but Waleed, not only did you jump in, and you jumped in and you stayed, and this has been, I don't know how many hours now. We're going on a bit here. So James, Desmond, and Jamin. I don't know who was next. I'm muting. I'm passing the
James
feather.
is next. James is next.
Yeah, thanks, Iana. Yeah, something, Kelly, you said two very interesting things there earlier. I hope you're still listening, man, because you mentioned like that, the youth will turn up for they get involved in conversations that they have the information on, which is an important thing, because that's one of the things we're offering is not and you also said then what exactly can they do about what can they do in the sense of agency. So just in relation to the two of them, what we're actually offering is addressing first and foremost to ask what are their main concerns, and then what we're offering is to address those concerns by first and foremost, if there are personal issues, try and get them, even if it's down to counselling or in any areas or anything. There's, like, as I said, this can go from the micro to the macro, but we're talking about global concerns in order to narrow things down. So there'll be mainly global issues at first, and then work our way down in the ladder, like. But my point is that if they have the access to the information, they'll get involved in the conversation. So what we're offering then is by addressing the concern. We say one of the concerns, as Marco said there, and we say global warming, addressing their concern by first and foremost giving them the actual information. So what we're offering is we're offering to treat them like adults and not treat them like they're being treated kids and with no say in their own futures. So that's what we're offering them. So what we're offering is to bring the professionals to them so they can ask the questions and get the cold hard truth. And from there, they know where they stand, because they cannot do or have any agency or do anything about any problems unless they can voice their concerns about those problems and have the cold hard truth, the answers to their concerns, and then also given options for what they can do about these concerns, because there are solutions to even such major issues like global warming. There are answers available to us if we act soon. You know what I mean? Even to global warming, even such as cooling the planet, there are ways it can be done. There are people that have been working on it for a long, long time. So they're just not aware of this information. So what we're saying is we're giving them access to the truth, the peer-reviewed information based on their concerns, and offer opportunity to address these professionals on their concerns, and an opportunity to find out that there is not only that they don't an opportunity to find out so that they can alleviate their own stresses, to find out that yes, these are serious issues, and yes, they may be far worse than they even know, but yes, there are ways we can combat these issues. But mainly that's by coming together in these different, with whoever is drawn to whatever particular passion that they have in life. They're going to be involved in one of these main topics. Basically, they'll have a place in the conversation. Their voices will be heard, and they will have a chance to alleviate a lot of their stresses, get a lot of help, and also be part of creating their own futures. That's basically what we're offering, and giving them a platform to do that as well is basically it. And also then being able to expand that platform through using AI and everything else, and Zoom and everything else. And this model will be basically a fractal that will then grow on upon itself, basically. You know what I'm saying? So I hope you heard that anyway, Kelly. But those were two good questions you asked, and yeah, I hope that answered them anyway.
Thank you, James. And Jamin, that brings you up next.
Thank you. Great stuff, Sienna and James. I think one thing that would be helpful, we've been talking in, somewhat general terms: polycrisis, mega problems, this and that, conversations, da da da. So let's talk about one specific example, which is actually an extremely important one. Many believe the most important one, and that is global warming. And so among all the students who fill out the survey and say these are the, top 3, top 5, top 10 things I'm most concerned about, either stack ranked or, some way of specifying the weight for that particular student, how much weight they assign to one problem versus another. So those who weight global warming as either number one, let's just say number one, those who say global warming is number one, we've got to solve that. They'll be invited to group together, and they'll be invited and encouraged to reach out to experts. Now, of course, there's tons of experts in the Washington, D.C. area as regards global warming: the Environmental Protection Agency, NASA, NOAA, National Science Foundation, United Nations groups on climate change, just to name a few. Okay, so they've got a whole bunch of experts at their fingertips. They might invite one like Paul Beckwith to come and speak, and his speech might be called A Convenient Truth, being an opposite to An Inconvenient Truth, from Al Gore, 2006. So the famous documentary. Anyway, that's an example of something the students can do right away. In fact, something like that urgently needs to happen, because as soon as that happens, they bring down Paul Beckwith from Canada to Washington, D.C. He gives a big speech. It's broadcast, it's recorded. And then after, Marco, what happens right after that speech, that presentation that's broadcast? What happens right after that?
The after party.
The after party. And the after party, everyone's involved to participate in the after party. Literally every human being on Earth would be invited. And it would be a network of Zoom spaces with 100 breakout rooms each. We'd take special care to make sure that those high school students that are participating with the general public have, signed permission from their parents, and they know that what they're getting into. They might even be, supervised, chaperoned, whatever. I don't know. We just have to take that into consideration. But the basic idea is that humanity gets together in conversation about global warming, the magnitude and urgency of the problem, and the solutions that exist, including marine cloud brightening, which can not only stop global warming, but actually reverse it. And with that, so that's a concrete example of a very important topic that a lot of these high school students are going to be delving into. So I just thought it was very instructive to give that example. Okay, passing the feather.
Thanks, Jamin. And that brings us back to you, Sienna. And then if it, after Sienna speaks, if it's not an imposition, I'd like to get some feedback from Waleed, because you've been here quite a bit today, and I sense great things in you.
Yeah, this is oh my gosh, I've been waiting for these conversations for a very long time. So may seem stoic, but I'm pretty excited inside. I'm like super excited. So, I see this as it's funny. I mean, when I was a little kid, I used to go to, the big family dinners. And I don't know if this is true for anybody else, but there was always the adult table and the kid table. And the kids, sometimes, the other kids at the kid table were like way younger, which was the case in my in my house or in my grandmother's house, my cousins were much younger than me and they were boys. And I was just like, oh, these kids are so annoying. They're so gross. And I remember the first time I got a seat at the adult table. And I was like, man, I should have been here the whole time. These are the conversations I wanted to have. And I always felt like I had to sit there with these, kids throwing peas at me, you know? And so now we are giving these kids who, some of these kids come from really effed up backgrounds where they're not honest with them. I mean, I have lots of experiences with that, exactly that. But what I was going to say earlier, and this is a big deal. I actually I helped kind of fundraise for this school, that I was mentioning for kids, and yeah, I mean there were like 50 kids in it, this Virginia Commonwealth, but when we did that, the outreach, it was such a natural thing for me to do. And now I'm just making all these connections. And I don't mean to weird anybody out. I've been it's like every job I've ever had, every experience I've ever had. And I've had 11 near-death experiences. I need to throw that out there, not to weird anybody out. It's a reality. So I know I'm meant to be here. I mean, I absolutely 1000% know that I'm supposed to be here because I shouldn't be here. Ridge saved my life 2 summers ago in Idaho, in a waterfall. I mean, I was I was about to just go. I have my legs don't work so well, and we had gone to this waterfall the year before, and it was much later in the season, so the water wasn't so cold because I'm good, with my arms, but my legs, it's just like it's a nervous system thing. So when I get in cold water, I'm kind of a lizard. I just freeze up. And I had forgotten the year before that I had on a floaty just in case. And so the next year I was like, oh, I did this fine, last year. And if Ridge hadn't jumped in ahead of me, I mean, I would have died. I mean, I absolutely know it. I mean, it was just like my lips were above water. I couldn't get anything to move at that point because it was much earlier in the season. So the water was, I mean, it was ice cold. And my system just went into shock. But that was the summer of like my big profound, I mean, that was right after my big profound spiritual, like bam. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die like after this experience. This is crazy. And then instead, what happened was it prompted an even more kind of specific, like, all right, you're not paying attention. You've got a mission here. So I've been looking for the people who also feel called to a mission that aligns right now. And, leave the egos at the door because, there's just no place for ego here. There's no place for competition. Um, to me, we all bring a big pile of spaghetti. We throw it at the wall and see what sticks. Because at this level of conversation, we're just humanitarian do-gooders. And there's no personal agenda. We know what's at stake, and we know how important alignment in conversation at the highest level is right now. So I'm just going to be speaking pure truth at this point because I've been on this path a very long time, and I've been having almost this exact same conversation, I feel, for like 5 years now. And I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. And I don't mean that in any offensive way. It's like I've just been waiting until it's more the alignment, of things. There's just there seems to be very, very great alignment right now. I mean, like it's you can almost feel the energy of the alignment right now. So, yeah. My husband is outside, very, very dark, but he and his friends, they like to mountain bike in the dark, in the cold, in the rain, which is what they're doing right now. And hilarious. They're all out there drunk in the hot tub right now. So if you hear a party in the background, that's what you're hearing.
I perceive that Waleed respects that as
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Waleed, you and Pete are going to get along. Actually, all you guys are going to get along with Pete because Pete suffers no fools and he is a man's man. I don't know anybody more alpha than my husband. Honestly, I mean, he actually laughed the other day. And I think I had referred to him as Paul Bunyan. He didn't even hear that. Had no idea that I had said it. And the same night he said, yeah, somebody referred to me, as like, oh, this big burly guy. And I said, oh, like, and he said, oh, like Paul Bunyan. And he said this in West Virginia at a meeting in West Virginia. And I had said it here on one of these calls. I'm like, come on. Oh, sorry. My house is like, yeah, it's a full house, like all the time. I mean, I routinely will have 25 people in the house, just so you know. And Marco, I need to let you know that too. And yeah, for any conversations moving forward with Lena, that, I mean, this is a very, I mean, it's just a very jovial house. My kids, like all their friends just pile in, like I just ordered pizza for, I don't know, however many people are here. My son Ridge routinely will have up to 6 boys. Like they have these really thick mattresses. They set them up on the floor. But these boys will be, they hike out in the woods. They create bonfires. They throw tents in the backyard. And they're just good kids. They're like really, really good kids. But you'll hear a lot of noise here between my husband and, oh my gosh, it's always a party. So, well, whoever's on here, honestly, oh, and the rain just started dumping. This is exciting. These are exciting times. And here comes Lola, my little doggy's coming up. So
How empowered and how kids take action when they're in power, when they have some power.
wait, who is saying that?
That's Kelly.
Oh, hey, I'm going to mute myself. I'd love to hear you speak, Kelly. I'd love to hear your perspective because you've walked into a whole big conversation. And Waleed, I'd love to hear you too. Not to put you on this.
What's Waleed up to? Yalla. تعال هون.
يلا
Waleed,
حبيبي
تعال هون.
حبيبي ايوه حبيبي ايوه. So I love the conversation. I love where that's going. I have only one take on a couple of things. I would say it's one take on a couple of things. And one of them, as I heard a couple of times, that it's very important to give the children kind of the choice instead of feeding them the couple of subjects that they should fear, as basically kids from like the last trimester of pregnancy till 7 years old, they know nothing about anything. They have something called mirror genes. They basically mirror everything outside from the environment around them, basically parents, teachers, and so on. And all the fears that they have up until there is our fears. And we have to kind of take responsibility for that, that our fears and our anxiety and our lack and our so many things that came into the conversation of the negative emotions of fear, anxiety, shame, guilt, betrayal, irresponsible. All these things are our emotions that we give them unconsciously. They take as a sponge with zero judgment up until 7 years old. And then we have to kind of, sorry?
you know that Pink Floyd song, Mother?
Yeah.
Mother by Pink Floyd? Yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry, that's all I wanted to say.
No problem. No problem. So that is the idea. So first of all, instead of going to them with the blue pill, the red pill kind of thing, as if we really know, or as if we really figured it out, because obviously us as grown-ups, we're still figuring things out. So instead of going to them with the actual information that we are still figuring out, is to actually take their opinion in things that might open brand new doors that we weren't even aware of. And maybe none of our worries will show up there as their main worries, as they are subconsciously our worries, basically. So we need to work together to figure things out for sure, to first walk the walk and then talk about it. So as long as we grown-ups are still fighting, we can't really give them solutions. So that is kind of my message here, is that we as grown-ups as well have to deal with our own insecurities, with our own fear and guilt and shame and so many other things by working together. So like we are doing here, hopefully as well on a much, much bigger scale. And then we can be the role model for them in truth by the actions that we're taking. And then we can involve them in that as an equal partner of our co-creative kind of circle, where they can give us ideas that we were really not aware of, because they are a lot more connected to source than we are. And yeah, they might be able to help us actually in figuring things out instead of acting like we figured everything out. We want to give them all the truths that we are still figuring out. That is just kind of my take on that. I hope that was a good take on that conversation.
Oh my God, Waleed, that is so perfect. I gotta take my turn out of turn here, because that's amazing. We need to change the survey from not just asking them what their biggest issues are, but what solutions. This is my issue. What solutions do you think might work? Holy crap. That was perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
with that.
we will be really surprised what they will come up with, because we are not on that kind of connection level that they are on. And the younger you go, the more creative you even will hear of really pure energetic beings that are connected to source, before they take all our worries and fears and anxiety and other things that we give them unconsciously. And that is also from my own experience in life. So as much as I love my father, he gave me a lot of good skills that I still use till today, but he gave me as well a lot of unconscious habits and a lot of unconscious programming that he gave me in the best of his abilities. He meant it very well, but that was his main fear, his main worry, his main basically anxiety, fear, worries, and lack, and everything that he was living through, because his father and his father before him and his father before him, they all passed that unconsciously down the road. And although they were the things that they disagreed with the most, they really didn't like, they exactly copied one another unconsciously. And until someone breaks the cycle and be conscious of that, forgiving the ones behind us that gave us the program, understand that they gave us that from heart. They were trying to figure things out like we are right now, and they gave us the best tools that they had because they believed that was the right thing. So to break that cycle, we need to not tell the kids that is the right thing, because we don't really know what the right thing is yet. It's all hypothesis. We're still working together to a better future, and we all together should envision that better future and come together, create it, because it's a brand new page that we have no idea how it's going to unfold. So that's my take.
Thank you, Waleed. I love every word. And yeah, it's that generational trauma that has come up in so many conversations in just the last week in the different meetings I've been in. It's general. I can't say it right now, but you heard it. You know what it is. But that was beautiful. And that brings us back to Jamin. He had his hand up first, unless you wanted to defer to James. I don't know, you dropped your hand and re-upped it.
I'll just jump in there if you just in response to Waleed there. Exactly, Waleed, you hit the nail on the head there, and that's exactly, maybe I didn't maybe emphasize that either. because what I was trying to say earlier, like my point I was issuing was that we shouldn't go there with anything on an agenda, any examples of topics, because it's not for us to tell them what their concerns are, is what I was saying. So I agree 100% on what you're saying. And we should also go there, I agree with you what you're saying, with the utmost of humility, and letting them know that it is their concerns are what we have created for them, and that we know that they feel that they're not being listened to. So that's what's so unique about this program, is that we are now recognizing in humility that their concerns and fears have been shifted on by us onto them. They've inherited them from us, and they've inherited their future from us as well, which is what's most important. And that future is looking bleak, is what's more important to see. And they know that. But we must go there. This is what's so important about it. We must go there with the utmost of humility, admitting that yes, we adults have got it wrong. But what this program is about is now is giving them a voice, an opportunity, and a platform, and a platform where they can co-create. And when they say bring the experts to tell them the truth, what I mean is whatever their main concerns are, we bring the experts to bring them up to speed on the latest relevant peer-reviewed literature on those concerns, so that they then know from ground zero, they know what the truth is, because they're being spoken to like adults instead of getting the washed down version they get on the social media or from the mainstream media. They get the truth of what their real concerns. They can address these experts and ask questions, but then they can also learn as well from these experts that there are ways out of this, as long as we have the will as a species to do it. And the only way we can do that is by doing a true conversation. And the only way, and the best people to design their future is those who are going to be, it's their future. So this is a program for them. Utmostly, it's for them. There is no agendas on our behalf. As a matter of fact, they will end up not, we're only co-creating it with them. It's something that they will end up creating and bringing into life, bringing a life into it themselves. We will have no really further engagement other than giving them the platform and the conversations. Meanwhile, we'll just go on with our own conversations. Anyone again who wants to jump into our conversations, quite welcome. But this will give the students a chance to form groups where they feel they're most passionate about in life and what they want to do and contribute to life. So yeah, I agree 100% with what you were saying, and I think that is that's the best way we can present it to the parents and the teachers as well. Like, is to say that we need to recognize with humility that we have messed this up and these studies prove that we've messed the place up and our kids are worried about their futures. We need to give them an opportunity to address that. So yeah, 100%. Perfect. Passing the feather. And again, welcome as well, Wally. Didn't get a chance to say hi to you earlier. So great meeting you, man.
Okay, that brings us to Jamin.
Thank you, James and Waleed and Sienna and Marco. Really great stuff, everybody. I just wanted to point out, one name that emerged out of what Sienna was saying is the grown-up table. So the complete name could be Chizzy, the grown-up table. Chizzy is the name because we need something unique. Chizzy is awesome. Everybody loves Chizzy. We can create a cartoon character named Chizzy. We can have AI create videos about Chizzy, and so it's Chizzy, the grown-up table. Now, there's two senses in which it's the grown-up table. Number one, it's kids joining the grown-ups at the grown-up table, but it's also the grown-ups growing up. And that gets back to what Waleed was saying. The grown-ups need to grow up here and step it up and embrace the kids and embrace reality and embrace the peer-reviewed technical journal articles that James is referring to, right? Not as the ultimate truth, but these are all pieces in the puzzle, and we need collective intelligence. We need Chizzy to put the puzzle together. And with that, I pass the feather.
Thanks, Jamin. That was great. Wow, I have so much more hope again. Thank you all. Wow. But it's been, I've been here since like 10:45 this morning, so I'm getting a little burnout.
Amazing, you lasted so long.
Yeah, I had a weird sleep, so I'm a little bit off. Normally I'm still doing pretty well here in the 24 hours after party. But I don't have anything to say right now. I'd love to hear more out of anybody who, wants to jump in.
I could mention that, yeah, so I agree with all that, like maybe parents, adults need to step back and let the kids have a seat in the front, but there's also a lot of things that the kids can't understand yet, that they're going to need some help with, like economics, for example. So you probably already know, but other people don't, is that I'm a raging anti-capitalist economist, and but also objectively. So it's like objectively, I want to see what's going on objectively, like not opinions, and scientifically make sense of it, like how we got here and all that stuff, and how things work. But I also have feelings about it, and that's my personal, subjectiveness. And there's a lot of the stuff to the objective that sounds like the person who's saying it is like taking it out of the subjective sphere, when they're really just looking at the objective sphere and sharing their opinion or how they feel about what actually is. Now, like kids, they don't understand things like the French Revolution and what that stuff means. There's too much information in the world. Let me roll out the window there. That capitalism, we could tell them all day that it's bad and make them fear capitalism, but it's better to understand capitalism and be in capitalism as a capitalist. And by capitalist, I don't mean robber baron, and I don't mean like brutal capitalist, but somebody who holds private property, intentionally for the purpose of trading it. So like understanding some of these economic concepts, but not the way they learn it from school, because school's not trying to teach them financial literacy. School's not teaching them how to be owners, basically. The schools are teaching them how to be workers and how to be machines for the owners. And then like there's that fact about that natural law that kids, like the Girl Guides, Sienna was talking about the Girl Guides, but them, like how motivated and actionable, like oriented they were because of the position they were in. I think we need to replicate some more of that and put some of that brutal capital out of business and replace it with student-owned capital. Let them understand how economics actually works. So I keep telling Mark, get the economics team together. I think I can explain a better version of economics to kids than anybody can explain this botched version of economics to kids. So like kids with a new vision will have a different perspective. Like for example, Staples, like why are we buying new pencils every year? Why do parents, why are we buying shoes for kids whose feet double up and then goes to the landfill? Like erasers, whiteout, all these binders and things. We get these lists and we have to go to Staples. Let's give the kids Staples. Let's let the kids own Staples, and we'll never have to buy school supplies again. We'll put Staples out of business because who cares? Like what is this, shareholders? Like there's like some major shareholders. We don't need to steal from them. We could just buy them out at fair market value, or cause the share value to fall tremendously, and then they're going to be pressured to sell it before it hits nothing. I don't know if I'm still on.
Yep.
Yeah. So like I kind of feel like I'm a big kid still, and I don't know if I'm any like younger than anybody else here. I'm 44, I think. Yeah, 44 in like a month. I still feel like I'm 20. I don't feel like it's kind of funny. I was like hanging out with people who are 4 years or 10 years older than me all my life. But then when I get to 20, I felt like I was 10. Like I didn't know anything. And now that I'm 40, it's like it's a whole new world. Like, yeah. But I still like I still held on to that. I'm not like anybody around me. I'm too young in some ways and maybe too old in other ways, but also quite motivated to like change the future. Sorry, I'm passing the feather.
Okay, thanks, Kelly.
I'm only going on 21 myself.
And that brings I had my hand up first, Jamin, but I forgot what I said, so go ahead. You're up next.
Oh, okay.
Oh shit, I muted you by accident.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry, I got it. Anyway, thank you, Kelly. You know, in terms of bringing economics into the conversation that you've been telling Mark, hey, we need to bring economics into it. I mean, what we're literally talking about is all important topics within all major topic groupings. And I bet you some whole new topic groupings are going to sprout up. That's what we're talking about. This isn't just about environment, climate, whatever. It's about everything that's important, including spirituality, including philosophy, including linguistics, including culture, including our very story of who we are as a species, the fundamental story of humanity. You know, we've got a story of where we fit in nature and all that. You know, for a lot of folks, there was a story of dominion. We have dominion. God gave us dominion. Like it's natural for us to be enslaving, raping, murdering animals, and then eating their flesh. You know, that all came from a story, right? And that, anyway, we are co-creating a new story for humanity. That's what encompasses all of this, including spirit, you know, philosophy, you know, creation mythology, you name it, all the above, all the way down to science and engineering and cooling the planet and feeding ourselves and housing ourselves and taking care of each other, et cetera, et cetera. It's all encompassed in one new story. So we're co-creating a new story for humanity and all of its components. Passing the feather.
Awesome. I'm going to take a short bio break. So you're inside, Jamin. You got the hosting for a few minutes.
Yeah. And then when you get back, maybe you'll remember what you wanted to share earlier. I'm going to start a new recording because we're now 4 hours into this recording. Hold on for